really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, he's 34 years old. It was necessary. And you wonder if he stays healthy, what he can do. Is it going to be comparable numbers to that of Michael Pittman Jr. to where you felt compelled? A lot of you suggested, hey, it's okay if this guy leaves. It's okay if we trade him. It's okay if he ends up someplace else because he's not impactful. 34 years of age, Keenan Allen. I look at it this way. It was a have to. An absolute. Something that without any other knowledge, without knowing what is going to be the future, you sit here right now and you understand fully that they had to get somebody. So I view it this way. Keenan Allen, by the way, nothing official as of yet, but widely reported throughout the course of the morning and then midday and then the afternoon that he is going to be a member of the Colts. Again, reunited him with Shane Steichen so they can bounce offensive philosophies off of one another. The guy, Keenan Allen, has been really good. He has been solid. He has been consistent. Holy hell, that's exactly what you would want to be looking for around here. The only thing that I can look to as problematic is you are forced to do this because you're all out of options. There are no other options, and because you need it. It's not one of those situations where you are playing from in front and you measure this out as, because you've got so much you can count on, you can go ahead and do something like this. If it works, great. If it doesn't, hell, whatever. Well, in this case, you have to have a threat. Keenan Allen has to be a threat. If for nothing else, Michael Pittman Jr., as I explained over and over again, was a guy that opposing defenses and coordinators and coaches would have to we got to account for this guy. Now, he may not be Jerry Rice anytime soon, but we have to account for him. And that's what you get with Keenan Allen. I will say this. You are going to get, hopefully, and we've been down the path to where, and everybody brings up Andre Johnson. We've been down this path before where it hasn't worked out. The only drawback to this is the fact that it is a have to. It's not like you're working ahead. You're reactionary. I hate it when your teams are reactionary because they have to. I want teams dictating terms. That's what I love about basketball in the case of the Pacers and the Fever, by the way, which play later on tonight. I love it when both dictate the terms. I mean, you can tell. And I will say this, the Colts offensively in the first 8 weeks or so of the season, they did dictate the terms. There's nothing wrong with that. That's exactly what I look for. That's what you should look for. We're going to go out and we're going to play this style. We're going to play this brand, and it's going to be your ass that has to match up with it. We're not worried about matching up with you. I hate to hear, or I would hate to hear my team when the play-by-play man or the color analyst says, well, you can see right now that Team X is matching up with Team Y. Yeah, I don't like that. I like it when they're matching up with you. You're doing something that they have to catch up with. And one of my favorite phrases of all time and I'm going to go ahead and take full credit for it, dictating terms. You are dictating the terms. And the Colts offense did that a variety of times before Daniel Jones was injured and then was injured and done for the season. And then basically the terms and other teams, for that matter, dictated them. You had to have this. So the only drawback, and again, it is a flaw with this team that you're really not going to get past, or you're not going to iron out until you actually see them play. And that is making up for what you feel is necessary. This is still not a team that has a lot of, for example, built in for me, for you, for others, belief things are going to be okay. There's so much prove it. Then you could say, well, that's around the NFL. That's in the NBA. That's in the WNBA. That's in Major League Baseball. You're always out there to prove it. But there are different variations of that, too. There are teams, you look around the NFL landscape, for example, like, I'll give you a great example. The LA Rams. Like, you're hanging on every word of Aaron Donald. He's working out, and he's doing all these drills, and he's looking great. If he comes back, hey, all right. If he doesn't, who gives a crap? Whatever. Because you feel good about the rest of your team. You feel good about those on either side of the football. The Colts had to have somebody jump in here. And that somebody in Keenan Allen made the most sense. The Colts used to be able to play from that particular angle. It's just been a while since they have. But it was a must-have. It was a must-recognize, and that's exactly what they did. Keenan Allen, 34 years of age. How legit of an option do you believe he can be? I believe the average was in the neighborhood of 86 catches over the past 5 years. And a year ago, 81 with the Chargers. So the dude falls out of bed catching the ball. But can he maintain that pace here? I saw Mike Chappell sent this out a little bit earlier. The most catches by wide receivers 34 years of age or older. Caleb Zuver is in the next room trying to figure out who I sound like today. Do I sound better? Do I sound worse in the first 5.5 minutes? Do I sound better or worse than yesterday? Believe me, if it's critical, I can take it. It's okay.
Nah, you sound about the same, so we might need to get that Jason Hammer doctor's order back into the fold.
I did
here
a
at the
little
top
bit
of the
that.
hour.
Hammer's out, so I had to go do it by myself. Yeah, Dr. Hammer is out.
Dr. Hammer. What do you think
So I don't know
Dr.
where the hell
Hammer
Nigel was, so hell, I had to go do it myself.
What do you think Dr. Hammer what does he oversee?
Yeah, you know what that is.
Okay.
Starts with a G.
All right.
Sometimes hard to pronounce in southern Indiana. They say Gene instead of Gine. So, yeah, that's probably where he is. So, give me, see if you can name any of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 most catches by wide receivers 34 years of age or older.
Is this in the last certain amount of years? Is this?
Well, it goes all the way back to 1995. At least, and this is, again, credit Mike Chappell for this that I saw on the social media platform X a little bit earlier today.
Okay, Jerry Rice has got to be one of them.
Boom, Jerry Rice is on there, 108.
108.
He was just in the Hall of Fame, just inducted into the Hall of Fame this past weekend. He was a ball boy back in the day, became a fierce pass catcher.
Who?
Mo and Curly would have been, he makes the trio. Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Larry Fitzgerald. Jerry Rice.
Who?
All right. A former, once upon a time, his late coach, Buddy Ryan, said, well, all he does is catch touchdown passes.
So he's a Philadelphia Eagle?
Former. Probably most notably
Is
making
he
his mark with the Vikings.
Oh, okay.
On the other side of Randy Moss.
Oh, Chris Carter.
Chris Carter. And this is true, too. In 1987, I think it was, 86 or 87, caught a touchdown pass for Ohio State from Jim Carsados, the quarterback. I was in the end zone at the time at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington. Caught a touchdown pass. And that was back when they had a chain link fence that separated the crowd in the end zone from the end zone and the players itself. He did and I'm assuming it was 86 or 87 because this would have been the reason why he did it, the Pee Wee Herman dance after he caught the touchdown pass from Jim Carsados and spiked it, and it came right to me. True story.
Wow.
And I had to give it back. It came right to me.
Oh,
he did,
man.
didn't he teach you the Pee Wee Herman dance, and he did that and spiked it, and it came right to me. Jim
Only you.
Carsados to Chris Carter.
Okay.
And then you have two former Colts.
Wow.
Also in this category. And again, credit Mike Chappell for that information. One is in the Hall of Fame. The other, everybody believes, should be in the Hall of Fame. It's actually coaching up the group of wide receivers. Reggie Wayne is one.
And then Marvin?
106 and Marvin Harrison. Yeah. So that's your group right there. Seriously, though, you don't have to have that level. That'd be great if Keenan Allen supplied that level, but you had to have somebody else. You had to have somebody else that was fallback, somebody else that wasn't DJ Montgomery, somebody else that wasn't, Chase Claypool or
Akine
or Josh Reynolds or any of these dudes that they brought in. You got to have somebody else, or somebody else that is he's on this team because he made it on special teams. Well, my ass with special teams, you got to worry about somebody being a threat out there that you can scheme, you can coach up against, and have a plan because he is good enough that you have this person in mind. Again, I'm not suggesting he's going to be Jerry Rice, but you had to have that. And the best part about it is it does fit. The shoe does fit. It's like weird. With Andre Johnson, you kind of wondered if the shoe fit. And there's really no reason as to why I'm making the comparison here. But a lot of you have suggested, well, remember when they did that? Well, I've remembered when they've done a lot of things. But the only compelling reason as to why I would look at this at all negatively, and again, most of it is positive because it was a have to, but the only negative is because it's a have to. Because it's not like the Rams where you go, well, this guy can play or come back or unretire or stay retired or do whatever this guy wants to. Continue to run drills and be shown in videos. If he comes back, that's great. But if he doesn't, that's also great. That's, I think, what you want. Those are the situations where you want to be making decisions like this from. Not decisions as they made late in the season to say, well, this guy hadn't played in 4 years and he's a grandpa. Let's go ahead and pull him off the couch and then he's going to be our starting quarterback. That's not playing with an advantage. But you're doing something that you absolutely, positively had to do. No doubt. Elvis says, fire Caleb for not figuring out Larry. Nah, that was tough, though. You don't know anything about the Three Stooges.
I agree.
That's even out of my age demographic, kind of.
I deserve to be fired for that.
There used to be a place, and there still are maybe a handful, and mostly you can find them in gas stations. Do you ever go to Noble Roman's pizza place?
No.
Noble Roman's, that's not part of your
Don't think
era.
so.
Like, we grew up, a lot of us out there, and I think the first one was down in Bloomington off of 3rd Street. But Noble Romans, and there may still be one. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, over off of 10th Street over by Ben Davis, West Side. But a dine-in Noble Romans, you would go in there, true story, and you would watch them throw the dough up, and they'd have a little step, and you can watch in the window, and they're making the pizza dough and all that. But they would always have on a loop the Three Stooges showing. And you'd go in there and you'd order whatever your Sicilian pizza was or whatever Noble Roman's pizza was, and you would have a constant loop of the Three Stooges. And there were Larry, Moe,
and Curly,
but you also had Shemp that was sometimes in there, And then the really bad ones had Joe. Joe looked like he was probably doing your taxes back in 1937. Yeah, you had like 3 different ones that played or had to substitute for Curly back in the day.
So why was that the show that they
I have no idea. It's weird. I don't know. It was just kind of the thing back in the 80s. It was weird. So kind of the thing. It's funny. Back when I started going to with the fake and then started really going to the bars in those situations, they would put in on different televisions, I'm assuming at the time have different VCRs, where you would plug in great 80s movies and it would roll around the bar. It would be a different 80s movie, a different, fun-loving movie of some sort everywhere. Yeah. And now, obviously, all this is piped in and you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
A lot different. That is Caleb Zuver over there, too, so we can talk about Keenan Allen. In fact, this is your damn lucky day, because here's what we have for you. We have Greg Rakestraw coming up at the bottom of the hour. We start the high school football season coming up on Friday for real. It was week 0 as of last week, but for real on Friday. I want to say Greg's got the Brownsburg LN.
Yes.
And are you going to be a part of Bob's show this weekend, too?
I will be on Scores Friday night.
Man, that is a that's a hell of a role for you, right? That's a humdinger. Everybody wants to hear that.
Here's the deal, John, because I just texted Coach Lovell, and I was like, hey, I'm not a Hoosier.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm from Ohio. This is going to be my first time doing scoreboard updates during high school football season. Like, can I call you and talk to you on how to pronounce some of these schools' names that I may not know?
Can we have some questions about the school pronunciations? Because what's great is we have a bank of 5 or 6 listeners out there, hopefully more than that, that can help you out on any pronunciation that you might not feel comfortable about.
So I still need to look through like the list of games. So maybe like that's a tomorrow or Thursday or Friday thing that we can kind of work in here.
Center Grove. You got that one down? Center
Southport.
Grove. Southport. Yeah. But no, I know Greg's, I think, got a part of LN and Brownsburg, which would be fantastic. I know Center Grove's got Warren Central, which should be fun. It is going to be a hellaciously awesome week number 1. And we are just, count them, 2 weeks away from college football for real. So I love it because everybody feels so fresh. And this is one of the lasting effects of what IU accomplished a year ago. One of the lasting effects is all those that took an absolute ass whipping, a beating that every single week, this is not real, they're going to lose, they're not any good, it's Indiana, Kurt Cignetti talks too much, he can't back it up. All these people that took an absolute ass beating a year ago, so it's like there's a rebirth of sorts. You've got a rebirth in the bravado. Did anybody hear the Feinbaum rebirth in the bravado? I don't know if we have that. If we have that, Caleb, give me the thumbs up. So everybody now has a new year and a new time to lay claim as to there is zero way as to IU being able to back it up. And this is in the form of the Mr. Peanut lookalike.
And with Mendoza there, I think we would be having a completely different conversation, but they have Josh Hoover. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a loaded top 5 or 6. There have been some years when you go back 8 or 9 years, it was Alabama and Clemson, and nobody else had a shot. This year, I really think it goes about 7 or 8 deep in terms of teams with a legitimate shot. I just don't think Indiana is on that top tier.
There you go. They're going to lay claim. I don't think they're on that top tier. So wait a minute. You just explained, well, they're bringing in somebody to replace the Heisman Trophy winner. And by the way, a guy that got more reps, if you heard Rich Eisen on before us, before those 5,000 PSAs ran, you heard Rich Eisen talk about Mendoza getting more reps for Clint Kubiak with the Raiders. We'll see where that ends up going. We know who the starter still is there, Kirk Cousins. That's fine. By the way, you got great sound from Mendoza after that, too. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But you get a quarterback coming in, and who's the guy that joins us? Nakos? Pete Nakos?
That's correct.
So he talked about in conversations with folks in and around the IU football program, talking about how well Josh Hoover has fit in and how comparable Josh Hoover has been to exactly what Mendoza was once he got there. You got to keep in mind, IU did not just conveniently take off and flex on everybody in week one. They gave up a couple of long touchdown situations to Old Dominion. It took them a minute to get going. But when they did, and it was certainly the quarterback role being played. And everybody is pretty happy with what Josh Hoover has been so far. But you got to bear in mind, it is also the team aspect. And here's where, with the 2 losses in 2 years and a national title, here is where my belief is Curt Cignetti has been unbeaten and unparalleled. Even with those 2 losses his first year there. It has been with the selection process. Oh, everybody can bring up the money, the NIL, what they pay for if you want. Everybody can bring up, the scheduling. That's fine. But the selection process and knowing that how many of those that he brought with him, how many of those that really nobody else really wanted at the time, they were out there for anybody to take. But it's the selection process of the players. Never get that confused in terms of the level of importance. You can have all the money in the world out there, but if you pay for a bunch of jackasses, they're going jackass in your locker room and mess it all up. He has, in the past 2 years, either bringing with him or bringing in fresh and new, cobbled together something that has worked. And it has so much been about the selection process than anything else. So, yeah, now you get to flex. After a year of taking an absolute beating, and I guess at some point having to take some half-ass ownership of that beating you took. But an absolute beating you had to take. And now you can flex and say, well, hey, we have 8 legitimate national championship candidates, and I don't think IU's one of them. Now you can do it. Yeah, I cannot be the only one that hope that, much like a year ago, this doesn't work out too. All it does, it speaks to the blue bloods, and especially the college football blue bloods of the South. That's all that matters right here. That's all that matters in that conversation is what happens there. What happens with the Georgias, what happens with the Alabamas, what happens in the SEC, the expanded SEC. By the way, between Georgia and Texas, somebody's going to have to carry the load in the SEC there. You just got to love it. Now you're able to flex. After a year of being embarrassed by comments week after week, now is that time. Fever coming up later on tonight, too. The Fever on the road. The tempo of Toronto, and they stink. 6:30 pregame. So do we have to go over because of the 6:30 pregame? I don't know if my voice is going to allow me to go over very long. I'm not sure.
6:08 is when
not
we got to
sure
call it quits.
Right here. Over-the-counter medications do jack squat. Does anybody else get anything out of over-the-counter? I had nothing. The most I got to be all natural. I don't know why. First of all, I question anybody that gets ill or a heavy cold or the flu in the summertime because I've never been that person. It's weird. But as I mentioned yesterday, there's zero way. How? This must be like the badass of badass viruses. How in the world does that thing hang on with the sweat, the hot box, the sauna that was Sunday? Well, it's not like I'm just not sleeping at all and I'm sweating. I mean, I don't sleep, but I'm getting all of it out. What happened to that? And
sometimes
that shot my theory to hell. I always thought I could sweat out colds. I can't do anything with this son of a gun. Nothing.
we can have an honest conversation about this if you want, but I also think your body's trying to tell you. Remember like 2 weeks ago when you were like, I need to take a break from hooping. I'm tired. And,
yes.
And you didn't take a break. I think your body's telling you, hey, but guess what you're about to go do tonight?
There's a song title, at least title-wise, that would be representative of my situation right now, but I don't think I'm allowed to bring it up because it's an R. Kelly song.
Yeah.
I think it's like R. Kelly or when he was part of Public Announcement back before he went completely off the rails and now in prison, basically forever. Did he have a song called Body Callin'? Body Callin'. I don't think you can play it. I don't think anybody's allowed to play any of that anymore.
Your body's calling.
Your body's calling. My body is calling, going, hey, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, too, there's a Noble Romans in McCordsville. There's a Noble Romans Craft Pizza and Pub on 86. There's a Noble Romans down at Center Grove.
Oh, dang.
Not too far from where we hoop.
Okay.
You've never been to Noble Romans?
Nah.
All right. And this is text line 317-239-1070. Anybody else out there, you can get in contact with our good friend Caleb. Tell him what is missing. Now, I'm not a pizza guy. I'd take you, and I'd probably just eat some of the toppings off of it. But no, Noble Romans, they don't do that anymore. But back in the day, it was a loop of the Three Stooges. Noble Romans. All right, we have Deep Purple Kansas tickets to give away. I'll get back to the fever and the tempo coming up later on tonight. 3 shows coming up. This is one of the things why I got to get right. Tomorrow, we're at the Indiana Standard Bread Association. We're going to be out at the State Fair coming up tomorrow. On Thursday, we're going to be at Drop Light, Colts Camp in Westfield, Grand Park. We'll be there, too. I know DeForest Buckner is going to join us coming up on Thursday. And then Friday, have you guys heard? I believe they call it Taylor's Bar and Table or Table and Bar. I may have it bass backwards right here. But our guy Kyle has a spot that is awesome. Ingalls, Indiana, which is right there off of I-69. It is a tavern tour stop with me and Brent and Tony Renz. How about that? You guys join us? Then on Saturday, I've got Colts pregame down right there in Touchdown Town, north of Lucas Oil, and then the JMV takeover on Saturday night. So there is no rest until Sunday. No rest until Sunday. So I got to shake loose of this bad boy. Is there anything over the counter that actually works? I've tried a variety of things over the counter and nothing. Everything's just giving this bad boy a glancing blow right now.
Our friend Meg said ginger.
You
didn't want to try that.
About.
So
Ginger.
That one's out of the fold here.
Ginger. Over-the-counter meds that'll help a guy. It's out of curiosity. Because you know the guy that is talking to you right now, this is going to be in my Southern Indiana twang, ain't going to no doctor. So anything over the counter that can help a guy. I got a long week ahead. Long, fun week ahead. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Rakestraw on the other side. We start high school football coming up on Friday night. Greg about that. Greg about the Colts. Keenan Allen conversation. An hour with Rick Venturi after 4. You guys have wanted it. You've asked for it. Once again, we on this show deliver. Rick Venturi, 4 o'clock hour. Charles Arbuckle, after 5. Deep Purple, Kansas tickets, and a whole lot more. We got weather active, too. We got weather coming up. Get ready. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. The latest in weather, courtesy of Fox 59.
Today's forecast from the Fox 59 Weather Authority.
Staying dry and partly cloudy overnight, temperatures cooling down to near 66 degrees. Highs near 80 on Wednesday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms expected to develop across the region in the afternoon. I'm Fox 59 meteorologist Kendall Wilson for The Fan.
Connecticut Water Systems in your home today, my friend Joe, to make sure that you get your water tested. You'll start right there, and then they put together a system that is specific for your water needs, whether it's drinkability, bathability, washability, all of that. If you don't have Connecticut, you don't have the best. Let Joe and the gang at Connecticut here locally get you started down that path with a free in-home water test, and then voila. You have the best water possible. Get signed up today for that free in-home visit. That's Connecticut.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
That's Caleb over there. I'm John. Somebody had sent this out, and I thought this is very accurate. This song basically described the moment we went from the 1980s to the 1990s. Technotronic with Yacht Kid K. You know Yacht Kid K? Do you know this song? Do you know Technotronic?
I know this song. Yeah, absolutely.
There was a fantastic mix, and it's somewhere out there, where it had this song, Caleb, and they mixed in, and yep, your mic's on, Caleb. Turn that off. There you go, pal.
I was getting ready to talk to you,
That's
and then I was
okay.
answering the phone, telling somebody to hold.
They have a remix of Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood from Sudden Impact, I think it was, in 1984, where he made famous the phrase, make my day. Make my day. Go ahead. Make my day.
Sudden Impact
Yeah.
added to the list here? Or?
Sudden Impact added.
Okay.
I want to say that may have been a film, his final film with Sandra Locke. Look up the bio of the actress Sandra Locke and her life. That's pretty interesting, too. But Sudden Impact, it may have been 83, if not 84, but whatever.
84.
Yeah, it
83.
sensationalized the phrase "make my day." And somebody put together that song with Make My Day with Eastwood saying, Make My Day, all throughout it. It's awesome. I love it. Pump Up the Jam, Technotronic. Yeah, it was the transition from the 80s to the 90s. Seriously, the transition. Pump Up the Jam. 19-3 later on tonight in Toronto. There is little doubt the biggest seller and the reason why the WNBA would consider itself humming right now is the Indiana Fever. 19-3 sold out at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto later on tonight. And I think they probably play, if the Fever aren't in town, I'm assuming the Tempo probably play outside somewhere, don't they? They play outside somebody's court?
Yeah.
High school gym, something like that. And then the Fever come to town. 19-3. Sold out. ESPN tonight at 7. 6:30 with Tidrow right here is going to get you up to John Nolan for the Tempo and the Fever. Sold out in Toronto later on tonight. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he's our friend Greg Rakestraw with us. Hello, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
Greg, Keenan Allen. It was a have to. Now, there's nothing negative to say around this. The only thing negative is that if you're the Colts, you feel that this is a have-to signing situation. And I made the comparison, like the Rams. Like you want to jack around with Aaron Donald. Maybe he wants to come back. Maybe he doesn't. He's training to come back. Maybe he wants. Maybe he doesn't want to. That really doesn't matter. But to the Colts, a situation like this was an absolute. It had to happen.
Yeah, if you had watched this team in terms of kind of struggling to move the football, then obviously don't take anything away from the first preseason games in terms of wide receiver because the ones didn't play. But when you saw this group just working out against its own defense the last few days without having Alec Pierce on the field, in the days when Josh Downs wasn't on the field, this team was struggling to move the football. There were a lot of plays where Daniel Jones just kind of run around buy time, throw the ball to the sideline. You knew something had to be done. I was probably of the belief that if you have a fully healthy Alec Pierce, you could probably get by with Pierce, with Doolin, with Downs, with Warren, and be okay. But I like the fact that you can be better than okay. And knowing that Keenan Allen was such a good fit because of his skill set, because of his knowledge of Shane Steichen, I'm happy the Colts made this move in the last 24 hours.
So you don't believe this to be something that kind of tells a bit of a tale regarding the length of time it's going to take Pierce to get back at all, do you?
Could it be indicative of that? Certainly it could be. You know, Alec went through a pretty good workout, for the cameras before the game on Thursday. So is this a sign that Alec, might be missing some time into the first week or two of the season? It's certainly possible. But again, Allen was available. You had the cap space to do it. Go get the job done, and that's what took place.
Greg Rakestraw is with us. The high school football season fires up coming up on Friday night in 6A. I'm assuming you got this one, Brownsburg and LN to start things out, correct?
That is my game, and I'm glad I got it. I mean, let's face it, it's a great week one slate. You've got Center Grove and Warren. You've got Carmel and Fishers. But clearly this is the headline matchup, and this is got a good chance of being potentially a regional matchup that is coming up as well. Depending on what happens the rest of the way for each of these two teams. There is some significant offensive talent that is going to be on the field. Should be a blast.
New Pal and Wheaton, St. Francis, Illinois. New Pal in 5A. What do you I don't know anything about Wheaton, St. Francis of Illinois. Do you?
Other than where they're located, no, that would be about it. But I know that Roncalli's on the schedule, East Central's on the schedule, and IMG is on the schedule. And again, frankly, New Pal, their league is going through a change, and part of that is because of the success of New Pal, but also the growth of New Pal, Greenfield, Pendleton Heights, and Mount Vernon, to where they've got some extra dates to work with this year. And then as of next year, schools like Garin as well as Rebuff will be conference foes for New Pal. So, New Pal is one. You think they're a favorite every year. I think this is any different. And I largely think the 5A championship comes down to those guys and Cathedral, who both will play a lot of out-of-state competition this year.
Well, and also maybe in that conversation, you get Bloomington South, correct? Somewhere in that neighborhood right there at 11-2, I believe, a year ago. Bloomington North 7-4 a year ago. South starts out in the top 5 too.
They do, but again, until proven otherwise, it's Cathedral and New Pal. There's usually pretty good 5A football played in the region. You know, you've got a mix of 6A and 5A in terms of the Duneland, where Crown Point's one of the better 6A teams. Maryville, with the runners-up last year, they have bumped up to 6A on their enrollment. But again, I think Cathedral and New Pal make up their own tier at this point.
Yeah, Chittard 4A. I believe they start out number 3 there. You got some of the usual suspects. Heritage Hills in there. Pendleton Heights in there. Roncalli is in there as well. Look up and down 4A and tell us what you think.
Well, we're going to learn a lot about what happens in week number 1 because we're going to rematch of last year's state championship game. For years, Roncalli and Southport were the opening game of the season, and frankly, Roncalli would play Southport and Franklin Central week 1 and week 2 because it was amazing gates for everybody involved. Unfortunately, Southport's program was just kind of to a point where that game got to be non-competitive. And so last year, Roncalli switched it up, and they started playing Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger, and those two played each other in a phenomenal state championship game. Roncalli will return the game to play up at Bishop Dwenger coming up on Friday night, making that trip to Fort Wayne. Again, I think there's more in 4A than just those two teams, but we will learn a great deal about 4A at the conclusion of that one on Friday night.
He is Greg Rakestraw. He's got LN and Brownsburg to start the high school football season coming up on Friday night. He joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. 3A, Evansville Memorial, Cascade, Gibson Southern. A lot of Southern Indiana flavor going on in 3A at the top of the list.
Well, Cascade won the 3A last year, but Cascade is no longer in 3A, and this is very rare. They won 3A, but enrollment-wise, they dropped to 2A. So they and South Putnam, who were both state champions last year, are now in the same sectional because South Put bumped up on the success factor. They're not going to be in 2A. 3A is kind of turning into this wide-open group, because that is where the Indianapolis parochial schools were for so many years. You know, that was kind of when Chitar was in 3A, they were going to win. Brebeuf, had a couple of runs in 3A. They've now grown from an enrollment standpoint to 4A. Even Danville locally is kind of in that same group. And so you don't have a defending champion in 3A. Lures bumped up. They were in the state championship game. So I think 3A, John, is going to be maybe the most wide open class we have in Indiana high school football this year.
All right, Greg, I did want to move to college football a little bit. We saw the AP and the poll to start out the season has IU ranked 6th. Is that where they should be slotted? Up, down? What do you think to start the season for Kurt Signetti and the defending national champions?
Probably should still be a little bit higher up than that. And I understand the talented players in which they lost, but I also understand the players in which they brought back and the talented transfer class in which they have brought in. They probably should be no worse than second or third. Part of that is just you're still fighting the image of Indiana. And I'll be honest with you, when I would do conversations like this last year, it was just kind of like common sense. Like, they really can't be 11-2 again, right? This is Indiana football. So that same, thread of common sense tells you, well, they're not going to be 16-0 again, right? Right? Well, why not? So 6 is great, and it's better than being 20th last year, but they're probably underrated at 6 in what this program has done in 2 years under Kurt Signetti.
It is amazing. In Notre Dame, I believe they were 4 to start out this season as well. Does that make sense with you, with the team at South Bend?
Yes, they should be a top 10 team, but again, Notre Dame didn't make the playoff last year, and Indiana did. And I got to tell you, man, this has turned into there's no actual, action between the two teams. But, man, the Twitter sphere is blowing up between IU fans going after Notre Dame fans and vice versa. Yeah. I know they were supposed to play, and now they're not going to. A lot of times fate sees something like this out. So whether it's a first-round playoff match for a quarterfinal or a semifinal, I just hope these two teams see each other at some point in time this year.
Yeah, it is funny. I played back a little bit of Feinbaum sound from earlier, and now you get a reset since it's a new year. Everybody that was consistently wrong about IU week in and week out all the way through the national championship, now everybody gets a chance to reset and flex on their own.
Correct. And while it's a bigger flex to say you won the national championship versus a team that didn't even qualify for the playoffs last year, Notre Dame can factually say they were the last team to beat Indiana University in football, which, knowing that happened like 21 months ago or 20 months ago at this point, is still a staggering fact to be able to say about IU football. And whenever that streak ends for Indiana, at some point in time this year, next year, whenever, Katie Bar-Darbe is going to be taking their shots because they've been wanting to do it and have been wrong about it for the course of the last year, 2 years, whatever the case may be. But until then, Indiana has the ultimate scoreboard, and they got a handful of rings they can flash at you to prove their point.
Friday night it starts, and the schedule ramps up for Greg Rakestraw basically now until the end of time, starting with Brownsburg and LN coming up on Friday night. Hey, enjoy that. I'll look for you coming up on Thursday at Drop Light at Graham Park in Westfield for the Colts camp and that dual practice they have with the Falcons. That will be my initial venture up there coming up on Thursday.
So you're not even doing Wednesday's practice, just the finale on Thursday?
Wednesday, I'm at the State Fair for the Governor's Cup. So that's tomorrow, and then, Friday I'll be at Colts camp.
Can I give you a scoop that will make you sound horse racing intelligent?
I do.
Can help you out with something?
I sound like horse something else most of the time, so yes, give me the scoop.
Especially today, so make sure you let your guys talk a lot today, just to make sure you can get through.
Yeah.
Your soldiering through, which impresses me. But all right, the Hambletonian is the biggest race in standard bred horse racing, or trotters, as they would say. That race has been at the Meadowlands in New Jersey for the better part of a half a century, frankly. In case you hadn't heard, that race is moving to the state of Indiana in the near future. So you've got a big-time topic in that sport to talk about if you choose to go that direction of the show tomorrow.
Got that right, my brother, and then your call on Saturday night. I'll be looking out for it.
See you, pal.
All right. Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Did you see the fight in the bleachers at Wrigley Field last night? That's great. Hey, let me go to a baseball game and have all these jackasses dripping all over you. Great. My man Brad Clapper had, I thought, one of the great comments. He said, you know what? I can smell the BO in this video. He's so right. What a bunch of jackasses. That and this date in basketball history is significant. We'll hit on that. You get an hour of Rick Venturi from Keenan Allen across the board. You guys asked for it. Rick, for an hour, top of the hour. Charles Arbuckle after 5, Deep Purple Kansas tickets to give away. Hey, don't think about going anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. That is Love, Heating and Air, Ohio dealer, 317-353-2141. That is John and Chris Love. That is Kendra that awaits the call right now to get your system checked up. And if there is something that is holding it back, i.e., you need a repair, you can get it done, and you can get it done and save $144 just by mentioning my name. They'll slice $144 off the service fee if you say, I heard it from JMV. That's Love Heating and Air for any repair right now. Love Heating and Air, Ohio dealer, 317-353-2141. Make sure your system is working efficiently in the way that it should. Love-HVAC.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Are you kidding? You think I'd join this crummy snobatorium? But this whole place sucks. That's right, it sucks.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Caleb's over there. I'm John. Rick Venturi for an hour, as you asked for, and we provide coming up at the top of the hour. Keenan Allen. Nothing concrete, but reportedly etched in stone, at least until he signs on the dotted line. We'll talk about Keenan Allen with the Colts. The Colts, both sides of the football in general. And if you have any questions for Rick, lob them my way, and we will make sure he hears them. Rick Venturi coming up at the top of the hour. Charles Arbuckle coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. This date in 1992, 34 years ago today, was significant because the legend called it a career. Larry Bird retired.
Larry, Patrick Ewing said today he's going to miss busting your chops in court and do well. Who are you going to miss playing against the most?
Well, I don't know if it's one guy. Like I said, the competition's great every night. As far as Patrick, he's had 8 years to bust me, and he hasn't done it yet. So I couldn't stay around a lifetime and wait on him. But all of them, you know, I never had a good relationship with other teams' players. I never was comfortable with doing that. But now that I know a few of the guys, it was fun to compete against them and talk to them a little bit. I'll miss all of them. There's no question about it. But there's not just one guy. There's a lot of guys. The best defensive player ever guarded me was Michael Cooper. I'll take that to my grave with me. He was a very intelligent defensive player. He was very focused, and it was great to play against him because I was at a level that time I thought I was playing some great basketball, and he was able to guard me pretty well.
So Larry Bird, 34 years ago today, retired from basketball. And then obviously we know what's transpired since that point in time. But you know, it's funny, I bring this up all the time. And I don't know, Caleb, if you feel about your generation this way or not, but I always felt that I didn't get enough out of the Bird era. And here's why. And you would think, well, I mean, he grew up in Springs Valley, in French Lick, went to Indiana State. Why'd you not get enough of Larry Bird? Because you got so much of Bird, you were inundated with that. I think logic would prevail. You're kind of drawn to those that you didn't consistently see or hear about. So when I grew up, it was more about Dr. J. It was more about the 76ers at the time. I was never a Lakers guy. Or it was more about just the Pacers becoming something after the ABA years instead of, you know, the normal doormat that they were. And not that I didn't pay attention to Bird, because it was easy. And these were times before you got to watch every single game. And there was a radio station in Terre Haute that's still there today, High 99, which is a country music station that had every Boston Celtics game on back in the 80s. Every one. And you would listen to that and listen to the Celtics games. But I didn't get, I think, in the moment or living in the moment enough out of the greatness of Larry Bird in that era, because you were inundated with Larry Bird in that era. And sometimes you just don't get it when you're younger. And, you know me, it really is the same trait that I have today. My head's up my rear end most of the time. Can you imagine back then? I could barely breathe walking around. But I do. That is a regret I have. I wish I would have been more in on the Bird era than I was. Anybody come to mind for you growing up that you wish you would have been more in on, but you weren't for one reason or the other?
Well, I know you've said it multiple times just because I'm from Ohio, like being a Cavs fan. Obviously, I was a LeBron guy when I was really young, and I was a Kobe hater. Okay, just couldn't stand Kobe. Now, when I look back watching Kobe, I'm like,
that's exactly what I'm talking about right there.
I should have
100%.
appreciated this way more.
Yeah, 100% of what I'm talking about. You do. When you get a little bit older, grow up a little bit more and mature, and just go, well, this is the type of basketball that's being played at such a high level, you appreciate it even more, and then you're a bit regretful that you didn't care about it as much then as you might now. And yes, I do, Andy, kind of sound like the late, great Johnny Most doing the Celtics games back in the day. That's kind of what I sound like as a sick me right now. Oh, it's just great stuff. I wish I would have paid more attention. But again, 34 years ago today, Larry Bird called it a career. Quick break. On the other side, you guys ask for this every single year as we start out with the Colts. Rick Venturi from the radio network and, of course, the preseason TV variety. Rick joins us, Keenan Allen, and a breakdown of the Colts and any of your questions. Rick is going to join us coming up next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
I got nowhere else to go.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Caleb is here. My name is John. We have a Sky Point to report. He was the one in the trio of the band that did not have the beard, and his last name was Beard. Frank Beard, the drummer for ZZ Top, has passed away today at the age of 77. We will significantly Sky Point ZZ Top coming up on the JMV Takeover on Saturday. So Billy Gibbons, I think, passed away. Check that. I'm sorry. Billy Gibbons is still with us. Dusty Hill passed away back in 2021. And the primary songwriter, guitarist, and lead vocalist, Billy Gibbons, is still with us. Frank Beard of the band ZZ Top, the drummer, passed away. Frank Beard, 77 years of age. Sky Point to Frank Beard and the just fantastic little band from Texas, ZZ Top. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, you guys ask for it every single year, and we deliver from both the Colts radio network and, of course, the preseason television broadcast. It's the former NFL coach and, most notably, our good friend, Rick Venturi joins us. Hello, Rick. How are you?
What do you say, good friend? How you doing? You are the busiest man in show business, I'll tell you that, and the best. So good to be on with you, man.
Well, people ask me wherever I go, got to get Rick on. When's Rick coming on? What's the story on Rick? And you know what? We've decided to put you on here today with a good one in mind. Let's say, for example, yesterday we wouldn't have this news today had you been on with me. But today we can implement a little dialogue regarding Keenan Allen, the veteran 34-year-old wide receiver with the Colts, reportedly being signed today. What does he bring to the table, at least from your angle, for this Colts offense moving forward this season?
Well, I think we all kind of felt this was an inevitability, that it was just a matter of when it was really going to happen. I think he's a really good fit for two reasons. I think, and I'll get into it here when I get into the evaluation, but I think that he fits and he kind of fills the bill for the things that Pittman did. They're not exactly the same, but they function in very much the same way. He's got a back relationship with Steichen, so he's going to be an immediate fit, and he'll be up to speed in no time. I don't think there's any question about that. What he brings to you, first of all, he brings reputation, and he's a big body receiver. Reputation means a lot, believe it or not, because even when you're slipping a little and even when you're up in age, teams tend to respect you, tend to commit people to you, and tend to play you like you did as a rookie. Ted Marchibroda used to say, if you get a reputation in the NFL to be an early riser, damn, you can sleep till noon. And there's something to that. And so I think he brings kind of a respect to your offense and a respect to the position. When you really look at him, he's, like I said, big body. He's always been a big high volume catcher. He's got well over 1,000 catches in the league, and he's got 70 touchdowns. So he's been really effective around the red zone. He's not a fast guy. He does it more with size, range, and smarts. Okay, very much like Mike. Mike wasn't a real fast guy either. He's never been fast, so it's really not a big factor. He's been good in situations where size and experience matter more than speed. Been really good on third down, particularly on those third and money downs, that 4 to 7, which is kind of 50-50 who has the advantage. He's been good in those situations, been really good in the red zone. Again, those areas where speed and twitch aren't really that important, where you're looking for the size and the big body range. Again, he's going to catch a lot of balls. not going to have a lot of yak, or he's not a creative guy. Again, very much like Mike. Mike, caught a bunch of volume and wasn't in the top 100 in terms of yards per catch. I mean, if people don't realize that, but he doesn't. He's not gonna stretch the field. But even at 34, he's going to give us, I think, situational play that you need opposite Pierce. I do think we still have to mix Doolin in there on the outside, because I think we need to be able to stretch the field away from Pierce. And not to say how important Pierce is. My goodness, we got to have him back, because if you don't have him back, then they're going to sit on you. They're going to sit on Warren. They're going to sit on Allen, and they'll sit on Jonathan Taylor. So, I'll be really happy when I see him. I know the reports are good, but I'll be happy when I see him working out with my own eyes.
It is Rick Venturi, of course, from the preseason TV, and with us on the Colts pregame huddle and on the postgame show now, too, which is absolutely incredible stuff. He joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I mentioned this way. There's no negativity surrounding this signing of Keenan Allen at all. The only thing that I can view is I would rather, and I think everybody would rather, the Colts one of these days, again, be like the Rams. I'll give you a great example. Like Aaron Donald, this guy can jack around. I can retire. I can come back. I'm working out. I can come back. And it really doesn't make any difference to them. They'll be better with him, I'm sure, but they'll be just fine without him. But this was a have-to situation for the Colts, in a position where you would rather not find yourself in if you were them, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, and, it isn't that, it isn't that Doolin and Akina haven't done a decent job. I mean, they've been solid. They haven't done anything to just absolute disappoint. But, when you really look at it, most of Jones's completions in training camp really have been inside out. I mean, they've really been inside out. They've been to Warren. They've been to Downs, a lot of throws to the backs, very, very little production on the outside. And, of course, without Pierce, you've lost your deep threat, and then you've lost your really number 2 outside. And so, yeah, to put it mildly, it can only make us better.
Yeah, Rick Venturi with us. Daniel Jones. So there is so much that has been mentioned about the progress and being in a position that not a lot of people felt, other than Daniel Jones, I guess, and the Colts moving forward here, to be ready for the start of the season. But really the proof is going to be when guys are really coming after you with a reason and a focus. How do you feel about that, for example? Let's fast forward to week number 1. Do you feel that everything is going to be back to what we witnessed basically through the first 8 weeks of the season? But are you still kind of sitting back and just waiting to see how he responds when things do get real in week 1?
Yeah, I would say that he is the, and this is with my own eyes, I would say that he has been the most encouraging part of this first 3 weeks in training camp, without question, because if you didn't know he ever had an injury, okay, you wouldn't know it by watching him out there today. I mean, his throwing is as good as it's ever been. I would say even better than it was a year ago, more accurate, more confident. And he hasn't lost much moving. I mean, Shane runs those bootlegs all day. He does that all day. He's had 2 or 3 occasions where he's had to ad lib and get out of the pocket, and he's busted out of there. I mean, he's very close. I don't know if he's exactly where he was, but there's not much of a drop off when you watch these practices. Now, obviously, you're making a good point, John. These are measured. Practices are measured. You kind of are always a little bit under control. And so we won't, the only caveat right now, he looks good. He's very encouraging to me. I'm ready to go with him. But we will not know. We will not know. Just like Buckner, you don't know until the fur is flying. You get jacked up a little bit. You get compressed in there sometimes, a big hit where you're stretching. So that's still to be determined. We won't know till the 13th.
Would you expect him to be utilized because it looked as if that they found something. Before he was compromised with injury, between he and Shane Steichen, they had found something that clearly he had not had over the course of his career with the Giants. Maybe there was a point in time, a couple of moments when he had something, but for the most part, he did not. Did they find something, and would you expect some similarities to the high volume of offense we saw with him to start the season, basically the first 8 weeks of the season this year, compared to a lot of people suggesting, well, maybe this was a flash in the pan? Is this something between coach and quarterback that you believe actually will work again?
Yeah, they're definitely symbiotic. I mean, they definitely on the same page. He's very cerebral. Steichen demands that both pre-snap, post-snap. He demands you getting out of bad plays into good plays, making decisions. And they're on the same page. I mean, they're on the same wavelength every bit from a mental standpoint. I think the other thing that Shane did a good job with him is moving him. Not predetermined runs or even calls that are runs to be runs. Where he did a good job with him is moving that pocket, moving him around, getting him outside where he's got good vision, where he can get that ball off quick, get a lot of easy completions into the flat on those bootlegs and those crossing patterns. And what he was able to do constantly is getting him off to a good start. And there isn't a quarterback alive that doesn't thrive and gain momentum by what you do early. So I think that's there. He's thrown extremely well out of the pocket because our receiver core is not where it really needs to be. There's not a lot of separation on the outside, so he's done a lot of tight window throwing inside. They figured every which way to get the ball to Warren, which they should. Downs in possession in the slot. So I would say that you have every reason to believe that they should get off to a good start and he should be fine. I would say this, and I've said this will be the second time I say it. In order for them to function at the speed and at the level that they did early last year, Pierce has to be there. Pierce has to be there. He is a huge part of the overall picture. If you don't stretch the field with speed, and the ability to get deep and get on top of people. And we all know Pierce has led the league the last 2 years in yards per catch. But if you don't have that, you will have what you have in the last 7 weeks of the season when the defense collapsed. JT went from the 8th, 10th game of the season where he led the league in rushing by 200 yards, led it in scoring, did not gain 100 yards in the last 7. And it was no fault of his own. It's just that when the defense do not respect you wide and deep and you can't push the ball down there, then they're going to squash. They're going to play 9 guys inside the numbers, and they're going to stop both Warren and Taylor because the same defenses stop both of those guys, and that's the guys you got to be able to get the ball to. So I'm putting a caveat as far as the overall start. Pierce better be there and be there full tilt.
Are you confident that he will be in week number 1, or are you a bit skeptical about that?
You know what? I just see what I see today. When he's out there, I'll be really thrilled. I haven't seen him out there yet.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel right there, too. It's just, Greg and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. The Keenan Allen was inevitable, and I don't think that was impactful regarding their thought at all regarding Alec Pierce. That was just something, they made that move today just because, regardless, you needed to make that move.
Oh, I believe that totally. Like I said, I said that I used the same term. I thought there was an inevitability to Allen. I don't think there's any question about it. And one of the main reasons on that is the familiarity with Steichen. Coaches are like that. They want, when they bring somebody in, they want somebody that's in their comfort zone. They want somebody that they believe in, know how to use, and that's why I said that was a good fit. Now, it's even more important. I mean, it's even more important, although it doesn't solve the issue I talked about, because Allen doesn't stretch the field. You got to remember now, Allen is a possession receiver. Okay, he's not a guy that stretches the field. And really, other than Doolin, we don't have anybody that does that except Allen.
So Rick Venturi's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You mentioned comfort zone, and you and I kind of discussed this. You just, by the way, mentioned it on the Colts pregame huddle on Thursday. Anthony Richardson Sr., before that New England game, at some point, you kind of wonder why he wouldn't be utilized in kind of a gadgetry Taysom Hill type of format. And I think we both understand the reason why, because this is with the head coach. But is that something you still question, especially when he shows signs, as he did on Thursday in that preseason game number 1, of hit or miss, being able to add a little bit of something that otherwise you would not get simply because you don't try to utilize him in that capacity?
I'll never understand it. I'll be honest with you. If you're asking me personally, I'll never understand it. I mean, I think I said the most encouraging thing in training camp has been Danny Jones. The most encouraging thing on last Thursday night was AR5. There isn't any question about it. After the first missed layup, the ball careened off the guy's hands on interception. I'll put it on him. Better ball security, obviously, but he hit 10 of 11. It is about the best I've ever seen him. Once he got going, once he settled down, it was about the best I've ever seen him with poise in the pocket. I mean, he read it, he stood in there, and he was not like he was protected that well. He compact delivery was accurate. The ball spun coming out of there. I mean, he was on it in that 2-minute drill. And and he flashed the runs. I mean, we know when he comes around on that sweep, he looks like a tailback. He ran that zone read. He was out the gate so fast your head will swim. And he's a much better athlete than Taysom Hill. I think that there's a spot for him. I never wanted to get rid of him ever on this rookie contract. And he's been a victim of circumstances. He didn't play. I mean, when you drafted him 4th, okay, with only 13 starts, you had to know that you weren't going to get a polished guy at the line of scrimmage with experience like a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees. That stuff only comes in time. He's a very capable guy, and then he gets hurt. He only plays 15 games, but he's 8-7 in those 15 games. So it's not like he can't help you win. And to me, I think, I just believe if he would have been around the last 7 games after the freak accident, we would have come out of it better. I really believe that. I'm still a little bit of a believer. I know a lot of people aren't, but I am, and I would definitely have packages for him because he runs like a running back. He is special, and and the threat of the pass is there. And then if in fact something happened to Danny, you go back and you play college football with him. I mean, a coach has to take the offense to the kid. You can't ask somebody to do something that they're not capable of doing. That's part of coaching. X and O's is one thing, but you have to be able to coach to your talent, maximize your strengths, and minimize your liabilities. And I just think that really impressed. I hope he can stack. I hope he can stack performances. What he looked to me like, John, he just played relaxed in that pocket, which I haven't seen him. It's like the old Joplin line in Me and Bobby McGee. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And he kind of played like, I got nothing to lose. I'm going to come out here and play my game, and he did good at it.
That's what I was going to mention. So what does this coaching staff have to lose? And I gather that, to me, the coach and Shane Steichen just does not trust him with the football. Okay, but what would this team have to lose, considering the circumstances of, what the hell in some moments might as well? Because the one thing that Shane Steichen does, he lives in a world of gamesmanship and gadgetry. And that they're going to utilize gadgetry with Tyler Warren, so why not with Richardson? I mean, hell, if he's on the team, why not?
Well, I don't understand it, and to me, there isn't any question that he should be the backup quarterback. I mean, in my book, and it'll be a little bit different this week. I think Riley will rally, and he'll have the first half of the game, and the first half of the game he'll be playing with better players. And then AR will be holding on to his butt in the fourth quarter. But I'm totally with you. I mean, first of all, Sean Payton, who probably is the best offensive mind in football, he was willing to do it with Taysom Hill, and he had a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. I mean, don't give me the argument like we don't want to take Danny off the field. You only do it in specialized situations. You do it as a changeup. And the other thing that it does, having been a defensive coordinator for 27 years, you have to work on that stuff. It splits your practice time, and that in itself is an advantage. So, I mean, they got to do what they got to do, and they got to do what they believe in. But at the same time, I do think that you really, in my world, you don't just judge coaches on X's and O's. You judge them on the development of players, the adaptations in games, and how you maximize your talent.
Well, and I just mentioned with the staff and this season, I know that the common term nationally is used is, well, the Colts are all in because they have to be all in. It doesn't really feel financially nor just in terms of trying absolutely everything that this team is all in. I mean, sure, if you bring Grandpa off the couch in December, then I guess you're trying a little bit of everything, but that was circumstance more than anything else. So I would just think, especially with a very inventive guy like Steichen, that ploys like this would not completely be off the table, but evidently with Richardson it is.
Yeah, well, we'll see. There's a lot of time left. I don't think in my book that I don't think they saw that performance from Richardson coming. I kind of think, in a way, Richardson's become an afterthought.
Yeah, he is that.
And he won't be here and this and that and it. And then all of a sudden now, with a performance like that, I think you have to recalibrate.
Yeah, I just, to me, what's, again, other than the lack of trust, which I'm just going to gather that's where all this is. And I get it. If you're the coach and, you were doing the TV, you saw the head go down when he fumbled, and it was, kind of a product of the situation that he'd been through before. I'm sure that's it. But when you're supposed to be all in, I guess if he's going to be on this team, why not, in this case, be all in? All right, I'm going to have you hang on hold. I want to come back with the offensive line, the tight end, and the running game, and then we'll hang on here before the end of the hour and get to the defense, because I do have some questions. Depth on the offensive line. I mentioned already the gadgetry, the utilization of Tyler Warren in year number 2, and a little bit further down the road, Charvarius Ward and the back situation. And guys, Rick, that have contemplated and maybe been at one point in time all in on retirement, then have a change of heart. Does that lead you down the path of skepticism? Rick, hang tight. We'll come back with you with a lot of those questions coming up next, okay?
Yep.
So Rick Venturi with us. You guys asked for it, and we deliver all the info regarding the Colts here in the preseason. Rick Venturi, the radio network, and, of course, the preseason TV, and now the Colts post-game show as well, which is absolutely can't miss. Rick rejoins us on the other side. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Here's a weather update from Fox 59.
Today's forecast from the Fox 59 Weather Authority.
Staying dry and partly cloudy overnight. Temperatures cooling down to near 66 degrees. Highs near 80 on Wednesday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms expected to develop across the region in the afternoon. I'm Fox 59 meteorologist Kendall Wilson for The Fan.
Connecticut Water Systems, Connecticut.com. My friend Joe, making sure that you have the best water possible. If you don't have Connecticut, you don't have the best. So let's get started with a free in-home test. And then they can find out what type of system they can put together to make your water levels elite. Not everything is the same here. They'll find out what they can do that is best for you. So get that free in-home test today. Tell Joe that I sent you. That's Connecticut.com.
The Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Rick Venturi rejoins right here. Radio Network, Colts pregame huddle, postgame show now, which is outstanding stuff. And, of course, the preseason games coming up, preseason game 2 on Saturday against Atlanta. That follows up a couple of joint practices, of which I'll be up at Drop Light at Grand Park in Westfield on Thursday. So we'll be set for that. Rick rejoins us now again on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What's your feel on this offensive line moving forward? There has not been a lot of dialogue surrounding this so far in camp.
Yeah, and that's usually a good thing. when you're not talking about the offensive line, it means that your quarterback is standing up. The way I see it, I think our left side is very, very good with Ryman and Nelson. Bordolini has really come on, I think, at center. Gonzalez has settled in at guard. I think the only question, and you did see that he played the first series, I think Travis filled in well a year ago in spots for Braden. But he's had a few struggles. Some of it's in the one-on-one, which isn't everything, but he's had a few struggles. I mean, he was the only lineman that they played a series in the game, which tells you something. That's a little bit of a message, and I've seen that as well. Now, the good news is that I think the Farmer kid is the real deal. As a matter of fact, I think this draft class, which is probably less ballyhooed than any, is going to end up being a doggone good one. Now, Farmer, I thought, was very impressive. They've talked a lot about him. He's been good in camp, and I thought he was one of the highlights Saturday night when you look at, or Thursday night when you looked at the tape. And I think he's the kind of guy that has the skill set and the talent to be able to step in at right guard if necessary. He did a great job out on the screen to Ogletree. And if that's the case and we struggle at tackle or we get an injury, then obviously the first thing you do is you move Gonzalez out. Gonzalez is actually the right guard and the swing tackle. And then Farmer looks to me like that he's capable of being a starter. After that, I hope Tucker can learn center. He's struggling. He's struggling with the snaps. We've had an inordinate amount of bad snaps during training camp. Hopefully they can get that cleaned up because Tucker has the ability to be a decent center. And then after that, I think it's up for grabs. I see they picked up a couple guys today. I didn't think it was very good Saturday night, particularly at the tackle position. I think that did affect Riley and how he played in the game. So I think you have a depth problem at this point, not immediately, because immediately, again, I think you have flexibility with Gonzalez and with a guy like Farmer who looks like he's going to be a top-flight rookie.
So Warren, Mo Alley Cox, Drew Ogletree, Will Mallory, all good to go, tight end-wise for you?
That's really a good room, but what makes it a good room is you have an absolute great player. And I'm not one for hyperbole, but Warren is a great player. Warren is a combination. He's about a three-position guy all in one. Throwback, doesn't say anything, just does it with performance. He can play on the edge and block it like the old school tight ends. He can flex out and give you a hybrid, which amounts to a third wide receiver. I think combinations with him and another tight end are really good because, you've got the potential to run the ball with two tights, but you can split him or move him around, and he becomes like the third receiver, makes the defense have to figure out, do we want to play nickel? Do we want to play base? Mallory is a guy you want to keep around because he is a really good receiver. He looked good Tuesday in practice, made a great catch in the 2-minute drill. If you ever just slip him in with Warren and two wideouts, it's almost like a poor man's four wides. But Warren, I can't say enough about him. You can play him at fullback, and he blocks the heck out of it. You can throw with him. They've done a little bit of everything, and really, if you look at production in the preseason so far, Warren's really been the guy. I mean, he's really been the guy with the And you want to keep getting him the ball because he's a game changer. He really is.
Jonathan Taylor is going to be obviously the guy to shoulder the load, but who's going to get the reps after him at that position?
Yeah, and this is interesting. That's one of the most interesting positions right now. And again, Jonathan, you put right with you put right there with Warren. Jonathan is just an elite player, one of my favorite players of all times. He can do it all. He can get you the tough yardage. He can hit the home run. I'd like to see him on more screens where you get him out. And every time he's run a screen in preseason, it's been exciting because you get him out in space, get him out of that box where all those sharks are a little bit and let him go. But the guy that's been most impressive has been the other rookie. Again, I can single out. I thought our rookie class was good Saturday night. Is McGowan. I think McGowan. And I thought it at the time was the steal of the draft picks because, they got him on the 7th round. He was outstanding at Kentucky on a bad Kentucky team against some of the very best defenses in the country, defensive players in the Southeast Conference. And he is a tough north-south, put a foot in the ground and go. He can break tackles. He's got that low, if you look at him, that lower body is thick, but he can run, and he's a sub 4.5. It's not like he can't take it to the house. So right now, he's probably the leader in the clubhouse in terms of the backup. Giddens has been injured, and he's kind of, he hasn't been around. He just hasn't practiced, and so he's, when you don't practice, you're just not there. You kind of take yourself out of it. And then the other guy to kind of keep an eye on is Ulysses Bentley, who has a potential, I think, to be a third down back. He's got really good hands. He can run pretty well. And what you might be able to get with a combination of McGowan and Bentley, you might be able to get 2 for 1 for a series where Jonathan can get a blow. The biggest thing with Jonathan and with our whole team in general, one of the real weaknesses of this team was the ability to finish. We were 23rd on offense in the fourth quarter, 25th on defense. So I think we've got to be able to get guys that are, our top guys, our game changers that are fresh in that fourth quarter. And then, another guy that's had a pretty good spring, a pretty good summer is Castle. He looks like a fullback to me. They don't like to play with a fullback, but he looks like he might be able to do that. He's a little bit quicker than you think. But I would say that the pleasant surprise of the training camp is McGowan.
That's Rick Venturi, kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Let's switch gears defensively here. A couple of confidence levels for you. Coming off the edge, consistent pressure. Is it going to be the season for Leatu Latu, the implementation of Arden Key, and then on the inside, DeForest Buckner, can he return it to form coming back from that neck injury situation?
Well, let's start because I want to make a real distinction here, and I'll make this where other people won't. Where we look pretty good right now is on the inside. I think that Buck is. I think they've done a good job with Buckner, easing him along. But every time, the more I see him in 11-on-11, the more I see the Buckner of old. Now, you might not play him 60 minutes. You might keep him for critical situations, third downs. Fourth downs, things like that. But he looks to me like physically he's ready to play at that high level. Now, again, much like we talked about Danny Jones, will it hold up when the fur is flying? You get a lot of hits around that head and neck in that interior of the defensive line. Grover has looked good. Those two guys are good. Now, where I think, we have some depth is on interior rushers. I think Adebaware is basically come a long way. He's looked really good. He can pressure from the inside. We saw what Curry could do. Curry had, he was another real encouraging spot. And, he's a bit of a tweener. He's not exactly the fast edge guy. But, man, when he moves inside, I pointed it out in the game on the telestrator. They isolate him one-on-one, and he swung by that guard. I mean, he's got twitch. He's got an explosiveness, and he is relentless, like everybody here who's ever seen him play locally and at Ohio State. You don't get 11.5 sacks in the Big Ten by accident. And I also like the Clemens kid kicking inside some too. So I think we are going to definitely have good inside pass rush. The question is going to be, and I don't see us as strong on the edge. Now, specifically, I think Latu has come determined. I do think that he's an uptick from where he was a year ago, and he's got to be. He has got to be, and you've got to have edge impact. You're not going to get it always inside because it's jammed in there. You've got to have those outside guys who impact the game. Latu was picked in the top half of the first round. He's got to give us that investment back. You know, he had a lot of near misses a year ago. He had 8.5 sacks, and I think he was within a yard for 10, but it's not horseshoes. You don't get credit for being close. It's hand grenades. You got to be able to get that quarterback down. I think the biggest part that he has to do is he's got to gain power to his attack. He's very quick, and he can get off the edge, and he can run the edge, but there's times against these big tackles you have to take them right back to the quarterback. Now, the second guy, I think with some twitch, he's got 30.5 career sacks, is Key. Key can run the edge at times, kind of a one-trick pony on the edge, but he's had some flashes in the league. Now, the kid to keep your eye on, and I think he was thought of as just a developmental guy, is the Gums kid from Florida, you know, who was drafted, who was we all know was a wide receiver at Northern Illinois, walk-on as a freshman. So he doesn't have a background, but he is quick and fast, and he has a motor, and he might be a guy that maybe gets accelerated a little bit because what we don't have is a bunch of edge guys. We got a bunch of guys that look really good inside, but we don't have a lot of guys that look good on the edge. So, you know, I think you got to actually keep looking at Gums and keep trying to maybe accelerate his development.
All right, Rick, hang tight with me. I want to get to the linebackers, and then I'm going to get to the secondary as well, because he had a couple of guys that played a hell of a lot of snaps a year ago that got picked on in that game by a backup quarterback in preseason game one in the secondary. I want to get to that. Charvarius Ward, Sauce Gardner as well, and maybe a quick thought on the kicking matchup that you have with Groupie and with Schrader as well. We'll do that with Rick and close out this hour. The Rick Venturi coming up on the other side. Sit tight. You will not want to miss it. Rick Venturi, the state of the Colts during training camp going into 2026. You asked for it, you got it. Right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, your opportunity to get a new vehicle is right here and right now. It's Eric Wilson, Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st, State Road 37. That is in Fishers. Why? Because it is the absolute best. It is. And the Buick Enclave, many styles. The hottest SUV and auto manufacturer going right now is Buick and the Enclave. Incentives to buy, which is going to save you money. The inventory to roll it right off the lot in Fishers, and the service after the sale that will keep it working strongly. That's what you got with my friend Eric Wilson. So get your new vehicle at Andy Moore Buick GMC today. 131st, State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV. The Ride with JMV.
JMV sucks.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
State Fair coming up tomorrow. The Indiana Standardbred Association. I'll be out there beginning at 3. I think Jake's out there coming up tomorrow from 10 until 1. And then at Drop Light, Colts camp with the joint practices with the Falcons coming up on Thursday. DeForest Buckner joins the show coming up on Thursday. I'll be up in Westfield. Friday, it is going to be Taylor's Table and Bar, or Bar and Table. I think sometimes I get that backwards right there. But we're going to be up there with Evan Williams. That is a tavern tour stop in Ingalls right off of I-69. One hell of a way to celebrate a Friday. And on a Tuesday, you guys asked for it. You got it. Rick Venturi, who rejoins us now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Let's start here with the linebackers. There's been some change of pace here. What have you seen so far, especially with the younger generational linebackers of this Colts defense?
Well, it's been very aggressive and very chaotic. I mean, Lou is running them all in there. I think he's trying to make the final decision. I think this week is going to be really huge for those young guys. I think right now, probably the guy that will be in the lineup, will be Davis Gaither, either at the will or the mic. I think he'll be in the lineup simply because on opening day he knows the system. He's going to keep us settled down in there, and so I think he'll have a spot there. The other guy that I think has been just outstanding and is probably their best cover guy is Carlisle. I think those two guys may be there opening day just for starters, but you're going to see a lot of linebackers play. I think he'll play them situationally. That is, you sometimes will play first down linebackers, and then, as soon as it gets longer, you go to 2, and then you go to dime on third down where you play 1. Now, as far as the young guys, I have really liked Betcher from day one, from the first day he walked in here. Now, I can't speak much on Allen because he just hasn't been there. Now, thank goodness he was out there Sunday practicing, so hopefully they'll get him in the games because linebackers have to play football. It's an instinctive position. You have to play it live. You have to tackle. You have to be able to get in and out and make plays. And, again, going back to Betcher, he's a guy that has just impressed me from day one. He may end up being the best all-purpose linebacker. He plays the run. You saw him run through and make a big hit. I think he has enough coverage skills. So, it's been really interesting. It's been hard to evaluate because they keep running guys in and out because I don't think they're settled in their own mind. Xhaka has done a good job at times. None of them have underperformed. I mean, I thought the most aggressive part of our defense this week, with the exception of Curry, was our linebackers and actually our safeties. We struggled at the corner, but I thought our linebackers and our safeties were very, very aggressive, and it was hard to tell the difference in all of them.
All right, let's go to that secondary then, because you're talking about Halsey at safety. Cam Bynum, it goes without saying, a ball hawk guy is always around the football. But let's face it, Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner, they're going to be the keys, especially if off the edge up front you don't put what is consistent pressure on the quarterback. You're going to be relying upon the coverage and playmaking ability in the secondary. What's your expectation, and especially with that back situation that Ward evidently is going through right now?
Yeah, I talked about Pierce. There's certain guys that you just can't lose. And that's your game changers. And the team is not full of game changers. You have a lot of role players, and you have a handful of guys that make the difference in the game. I do believe, that if Mooney and Sauce and Wally and Bynum and Halsey stay together, if they stay healthy, if that's possible. It doesn't look probable, but if that's possible, I believe it would be hard to find 5 more talented players in the secondary at one time than has ever been at Indianapolis. And I came with the Mayflower. That doesn't mean they're going to do it. I'm just saying they have that kind of talent. And the 2 corners are key. The 2 outside corners are key, Sauce and Mooney. And I'm pulling for Mooney. If you can't pull for Mooney for all the things he's been through, there's something wrong with you. It does bother me that, he hasn't practiced in a few days. He's got the back issue. And those 2 guys, I think they played 1 game together. All that investment in 2 guys, free agency and trade, and I think we got 1 game out of them together. And so if you don't have those guys in there, then it's a whole different ballgame. And you saw the defense go to crap after that. I mean, Lou had to go to zone defense, and we couldn't stop a nosebleed. Because if you're going to be good, and you talk about the pass rush, it's all related. If you have Mooney and you have a Sauce and you have Wally, you have 3 guys that can press and play man-to-man. Now, when you press and you play man-to-man, you disrupt the offense. You disrupt the timing. You make the quarterback not be able to throw on time, but have to hitch, shuffle, and find another guy. Now, if you look at it, if you have that effect and Latu is 1 step off 10 times, that may be the step that gives him to the quarterback. So pass rush and press coverage. I say press coverage because if you play off and you play soft, you're not stopping anybody, and you're allowing teams to throw on time. But I think those 2 guys are just the critical aspects. I was really disappointed in Edwards and Blackman all week long. I mean, they got torched on Tuesday, and then they got torched in the game. And, that was probably the weakest part of the defense. They threw on those 2 guys at will. And so, that shakes you a little bit. I think we've got a really good swing guy. I think we have a really, really good swing guy in Taylor Britt, who obviously we're not going to have in the opener, but I think he'll be the first guy in the game, whether it's an outside corner or a nickel. And then when he's available, if everybody's healthy, he also plays the dime. So he and Wally would play the inside corners with those 2 guys on the outside. Then you'd play 1 linebacker in the safeties. So I think potentially it's a really good group, but the depth looked good when we were playing against ourselves, but the minute we got to New England, we got exposed there. Now, I would say keep an eye on a kid, the Carter kid, 39, who played with the British Columbia Lions. He had a really good, you had to watch the tape to see it, a really good game last Thursday night. And with those other guys struggling a little bit, he can also play the nickel. He might find his way around there.
It's Rick Venturi with us. Final thing before we close out this hour with you. We saw the injury to Brian Mason, ligament damage there on the sideline, which really sucks in a big way. You could tell by his reaction. That's a tough dude right there, and going down like that.
Dude. Now, that is a tough dude. I sat next to him on the plane, and he was out on the practice field I couldn't believe it, on Saturday.
Yeah. What do you think about the kicking game right here? You got Groupie, you got Schrader. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of give or take right now. Where would you stand with that?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it is just outstanding. You start with Riggo. I mean, Riggo's as good a punter as there is in the league. You got a really good snapper in Rhodes. You know, the place kicking has been really, really good. It looked as though going into the game Thursday, if you just went on repetitions and percentages, it looked like Groupie had the edge. And then I guess he came out again Sunday and kind of retook the edge on the percentage. But, I mean, Schrader's another guy, if you can't pull for a guy coming off that ACL, that brutal injury. But that 61-yarder gets your attention. I mean, these are two guys that are excellent. Somebody, if we have to let one of them go, somebody's going to get a really good kicker. And, you know, Mason is the perfect guy to make this decision. I'm actually glad he's making it. I'm not, because this one's really hard. But he's very familiar with both of these guys. Both these guys at Notre Dame either coached him or recruited him, so he knows them like a book. And I'm confident that he will make the right decision. I will only add one thing. I'll only add one thing to it. One thing that has really changed the game, and I absolutely love it, is the new kickoff rule that started a couple years ago, because it really puts a premium on a kicker who handles that delicacy of getting that ball between the 20 and the goal line, you know, without just hitting a line drive and letting them rush. But if you look at that part of the game, those returns and those touchbacks, that's totally changed football. I'll tell you what, it's totally changed football. So, you know, you also kind of have to look at that guy who can place that ball, you know, consistently in that zone.
Yeah, you're right. Rick Venturi with us. I'll tell you the other thing that I love about this season is you more on the pre and then you on the post. That's what we've needed for forever. That's awesome. I love that.
I'm looking forward to it. You know, I love being on with you on the pregame. We laugh, we talk football, we just have a good time, and I think that's a great show. The guys you have with you, they're all my good friends. And the post game is going to give me an opportunity. You know, I love Rake and Billy, and it's going to give me really, and Casey, it's going to give me a chance to, you know, and I'm unfiltered. I mean, there isn't any. When you're 80 years old, and Jim Irsay, when he hired me, he said, "Hey, Rick, you just be Rick," and I've always appreciated that. So this gives me a chance to speak unfiltered with the fans. So I'm really looking forward to that, to tell you the truth, John.
And you got your podcast, too, you and Matt, correct?
Yeah, and we'll be up tomorrow night. We actually have started the podcast. We're up. We post up every Wednesday late afternoon, usually about 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I love Matt. You know, Matt. I am so fortunate. Matt Taylor is the best. I'm telling you, the best play-by-play NFL guy in the league. We're so lucky to have him in this city. And Rake, who I work with on TV, he's the most versatile announcer I've ever seen. I'm not even a soccer fan, and I listen to his show on Saturday because he's so good. And you know, working with those two guys has been a pleasure. But Matt and I do that podcast. We've done it now for 10 years, either in TV form or on the podcast. So I think we understand it. I think we give you a pretty good preview to the game coming up.
You got it. My brother is back. That was awesome. What a great hour right there. And again, Colts pregame huddle, his pod with Matt Taylor, Colts.com, and the postgame show now. It is Rick Venturi all the time, which is necessary, and especially right here, pal. I appreciate you jumping on here today.
Oh, John, you're the best. God, you got me listening to your music show on Saturday night, for God's sake.
We had to give you a shout-out a couple of weekends ago. Yeah,
you did. I wanted you to play the House of the Rising Sun, and you didn't play it.
I think is that the Animals? Is that what you're?
That's the Animals. That's about New Orleans, man.
All right. Well, I'll look for you on Thursday when I'm up there too, buddy.
Okay, brother. I'll see you then.
There's Rick Venturi. That is an awesome hour on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Charles Arbuckle from the radio network, the former Colts tight end. He's going to join us on the other side, so do not go anywhere. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. John here for the Low T Center. Of course, the Low T Center. And sometimes the way that you look at things, right? You look at things in this fashion. Like the heat and humidity can wear you out. But maybe it's more than just that. Maybe you're drained and it's not anything to do with the heat. Maybe it's a low testosterone level. And that affects energy, sex drive, motivation, mood, and more. Low T Center can help. They can get you the answers that you need for the summer and the heat and maybe low levels of energy. They can do that for you absolutely free. At the Low T Center, you can book a free testosterone test and get a consultation from a licensed provider specializing in testosterone replacement therapy. Explore a range of peptides and even get that jump on that late summer bod with GLP-1s and medical weight loss protocols. The Low T Center is that destination. Visit fixmylowt.com to schedule your free testosterone test today. That's fixmylowt.com.
The Ride with JMV.
One run on, let's see, one hit. That's all. We got one damn hit.
You can't say damn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Rick Venturi, awesome right there. The Animals. Hey, we got his request in. Well done, Caleb.
I got your back.
That's great stuff. Podcast 107.5, thefan.com. By the way, NFL Week 2 of the preseason, Raiders and Texans, and the 49ers and the Chargers. That is coming up on Thursday. And then obviously fast forward to Saturday, 1 o'clock, Falcons and the Colts. We'll lead you up to that on the Colts pregame huddle. And then obviously game time for you on the Colts Radio Network. Along with Matt Taylor, it is our next guest of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, the color analyst, the former Colts tight end, Charles Arbuckle, is a part of that bad boy, and he is with us now. Good afternoon, Charles. How are you?
Hey, JMV. How you doing, man?
We just went all in for an hour with Rick Venturi. Now we'll work with you a little bit on it, too. And obviously you played on the offensive side of the football while in the NFL. What does a guy like Keenan Allen bring to the table for a team that certainly has a quality need in that wide receiving category as a part of training camp and going into the regular season here?
He is a productive guy who has just been JMV. I mean, I can remember him coming out of Cal, just the ability to make plays. It's, Michael Pittman Jr. only older, and with more catches. You look at what he's been able to do over the course of his career. It's just phenomenal when you look. He gets up out of bed and he's 80 and 900 yards almost. So I think when you have a guy like that can make plays for you, that's what you want to have.
And that was necessary. Even with, let's just believe that Alec Pierce will make it back in week number 1. I'm not quite sure if he will, but even if everything is going according to plan, you had to have this guy. And a lot of people would suggest to me, well, you lose Michael Pittman Jr., he goes to Pittsburgh now, and really he didn't put up a lot of big numbers and heavy results. But he was still a guy that you had to, when you're game planning, you had to say, well, this guy can do this guy can do that. And this adds to a room of guys that certainly solidifies that with Keenan Allen. I don't know what he's going to be able to deliver, but he certainly solidifies and covers a need that the Colts had to ultimately address.
Well, I think the other thing is, look, I kind of felt like people were looking at it, and I still think it's important. If you think about Nick Westbrook-Akine, I think he still plays a role. I think people can't forget about him. But Laquan Treadwell, you kind of know what you're getting out of Laquan. And he hasn't had anything over the last few seasons other than great special teams for the Colts. So I think this makes sense from that perspective of bringing a guy like Keenan Allen on board who, hey, man, last year he still was playing at a high level. And that's what you want. And I think it helps your room when you have a guy like Josh Downs, who's now in his 4th year. You've got, other young guys, Ashton Doolin. You have him as well. And he's a great special teams player, but you can also give you some things on the offensive end. So I think this is a good move for the Colts. And I'm surprised it's taken this long.
Now, I'm going to get back to the Colts in just a second. Charles Arbuckle from the Radio Network, the former Colts tight ends on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, at least sitting here right now. And we'll find out once the season officially gets underway. But how are you sizing up? You think it's going to be a lot of what we witnessed a year ago with the Jaguars stepping up, and then obviously the Texans had great moments but didn't live up to the expectations that you thought, and then Cam Ward and the Titans in year number 2. How do you size up the AFC South from your vantage point right now, Charles?
Well, I mean, I saw those Texans live, and they're legit on defense. If they can get anything from C.J. Stroud, that offense gets better. We didn't see him with Nico Collins, so that's another thing. You just look at the explosiveness that they have on that team from the Texans' perspective, and that defense, man, interior linemen, exterior, their secondary, they are just really going to be hard. And then I think Jacksonville is after them just because of the maturation of Trevor Lawrence. And then the Colts fall in there 3rd right now, just on paper. The Colts could make that move, but Think about how long it's taken the Colts to beat Jacksonville down in Jacksonville, right? When was the last time that happened? I was in high school, maybe. I'm exaggerating, but it's been a tough matchup with them. So you go 1-1 generally every year, and you get the Titans, and you can win both of those. But they're gonna be in a dogfight now because you've got a better quarterback, and I think they're gonna be much better on defense this year. And I'm hearing some great things out of their young receiver out of Ohio State, Carnell Tate. So they're gonna battle you, and I think Cam Ward's gonna get better. So right now, you got to look at the Texans. You got to anoint them. Jacksonville has to be second and the Colts third. Now, that's just on paper, and I hope my paper is wrong so I can throw it away and say the Colts are better than the Jaguars, or maybe overextend and over-index and be better than the Texans.
Well, Charles, you brought up the Texans before anybody else within this division, and you brought up the defense with good reason because it is loaded, and D'Amico Ryans is always going to be a defensive lean with that in mind. But did C.J. Stroud, like evidently he did with some fans and some of the NFL crowd out there, did he lose a little confidence in you as that season went along last year?
Yeah, he did. He lost his fastball, man. I mean, look at Skeens in Pittsburgh right now. Lost 2 or 3 miles per hour, and they're hammering him, right? That's what batters do. They adjust. And so he has to now get better as a pitcher. C.J. Stroud has to understand as a 25-year-old guy, he's still young, that you got to make the plays when they're there. And Andre Ware, who I know is their radio analyst, talks about what he sees out of C.J. from a quarterback's eyes, and he thinks he has a lot of potential. He just has to reach it and be consistent. And I think so too, JMV. And I think that's going to be interesting this year to watch them, to see how he is early in the year and how his makeup is. Because you think about it last year, the Texans started off 0-3. And think about how they went on a tear. They were the opposite of what the Colts did. All those wins late in the year, right, in November through December. And then they get to the playoffs against the Pats and, didn't play very well. So I think CJ has an opportunity. When you have a defense that had 46 sacks, I'm going to give them 50 rolling out of bed with the guys they got on the outside, with Daniil Hunter and Anderson. They're going to get after quarterbacks. I think they're really solid interior with their linebackers, but their safeties and cornerbacks, man, they play some really good football. And I think that's what gives you as a quarterback the chance to say, okay, let me not make mistakes. Let me play consistent ball, be better than 57. He has to be better than 57% passer, and he has to protect the football. If I'm a coach for them, that's what I'm preaching to him all this season. You've got to be better than that. And we need you at like 5 interceptions instead of 8 late in the year, and then really have a horrific game in the playoffs. How do you come back from that? And that's going to be interesting. And I think every team that plays him early is going to challenge him to see if he has his mental makeup in the right frame of mind.
This is Charles Arbuckle of the Colts Radio Network, the former Colts tight ends on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It seems like we question whether or not we're going to see with a healthy Daniel Jones this connection between coach and quarterback as we witnessed before his injury a year ago, which was certainly high level. You saw that connection with Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen that went on down in Jacksonville. Are we going to see that similar connection and formula work offensively for the Jaguars in year number 2? They're loaded, and they're going to have a healthy now Travis Hunter. We'll find out a little bit more about Brian Thomas Jr. being for real. Parker Washington was somebody that stepped up, but is it going to be a next step in what we saw in that so-called magic formula between quarterback and head coach in Jacksonville a year ago?
I just think Liam Cohen is one of those guys like the McVays of the world and like, Shanahan. There's not anybody in NFL circles that don't talk about how well Liam Cohen is. And, it came out of that Viking system, I think, and just the understanding of how to get into a quarterback's head and make him play better. And I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be the next comer when I saw him at college. I really did. I thought Clemson's offense wasn't perfectly suited to, pro football style, but his ability, some of the things that he could do, and to see it take this long, I think Liam Cohen in year 2 with Trevor Lawrence only gets better. And I think that's the one thing that the Jaguars have to be excited about is having a guy that now can help my quarterback become better. Travis Hunter, we can still sprinkle him in, and he can add a little spice every now and then. I don't want him playing every down if I'm a fan of theirs, because I think it's just you can't do that. But defensively, let's think about this Jaguars defense. We talk a lot about how strong the defense was with the Texans. I think a lot of people sleep on how good Jacksonville's defense is, and especially when they play the Colts. It's just something about those horseshoes, man, that gets the Jaguars going. And it seems like they find ways not only against the Colts, but if they can do that this year outside of the AFC South, I think you have another team that's going to be when the Colts win those games against the Texans and the Jaguars, which they will do. You hope that's this year if you're a Colts fan. You're gonna earn that win, right? You ain't getting a gimme. It ain't gonna be a layup. If you come to the hole, you better come hard, because that's how those teams play on defense and that's how they play on offense. And I think the pressure that they're putting on Trevor to learn and be a better steward of the ball and the game is what's going to make that team better. And we're going to see it in year 2.
So, Charles, coming off of preseason game 1, I mentioned preseason game 2 after the 2 joint practices with the Falcons this week up at Drop Light at Grant Park in Westfield. You got coming up on Saturday afternoon against the Falcons. Give me some solid, strong takeaways from that preseason game in Foxborough, and then some things that you have to tighten up, some things that disappointed you a bit about this team.
The turnovers right away disappointed me, right? That was the one thing that stood out. You can't play that kind of football and not expect to even be in the game. And that's why I flip it to the other side. They were fortunate to be in the game, but I think the defense played a lot better than we thought. I thought the linebacking crew, JMV, I think it's going to be a work in progress. I know CJ Allen is healthy this week, so I don't think Lou is all that upset about not upset about having 4 or 5 guys that he can rotate and play with and use them in situational football. Even if you look at Wes Weeks, who's the third teamer right now, I thought he played pretty well. I got to give a lot of credit to Caden Curry. I think everyone around the organization and program was waiting to see how he was going to play. And when they put him in that NASCAR package on the inside, he was beating guards like they stole something, and then still taking their lunch money after he beat them at the line of scrimmage. That was good to see in the first preseason game. I think the other thing is the biggest takeaway for me was Anthony Richardson flipped it in game. He was able to make the first interception wasn't on him, but the fumble was him. You slide or you move the ball to the left hand, so if it gets knocked out, it goes out of bounds, or protect the football. But think about how well he played when they win those 2-minute situations both times, and still being able to calmly get the ball down the field. And I think Seth McGowan showed us who he was. That wasn't a fumble. I mean, the officials should have looked at that. They were in preseason form, so they were hot garbage, probably like everything else. They'll get better. But Seth McGowan was really, really good, and I think we're starting to see the makeup of that. And I'll tell you one guy on offense that you got to keep an eye on, and I hope he's healthy this week, is Jalen Farmer. Jalen Farmer's a nasty dude, and he'll come and hit you in the mouth. And I think that's one thing I wanted to see with the Patriots, who had a really good defense.
Well, and we kind of curious about, and Rick and I talked about this last hour with an offensive line that I think you like what they start with, but we know this team, if there's anything they've been noted for over the years recently, has been being injured. So you can expect some compromising due to injury at some point. Is the depth on that offensive line there that you like?
I'll do this. When I look at how they are made up, Tony Sperano Jr. always seems to have them in position, and he's tinkering and he's moving guys around. He's got guys playing multiple positions. I think Dalton Tucker is one guy that has to be a good backup. Luke Tenuta showed some good things the other night. I mean, when you watch the film, you're going to see some good, you're going to see some bad, but you see Blake Freeland is another guy that, you saw making some plays. I think offensive line-wise, if they can settle on where they want, if Jalen Travis is the answer there, or if they move, I'm just curious as the right tackle position, because I think there's still some things you can do and maybe move some things around. And when you have a Jalen Farmer that played as well as he did, even that's the first game, I know he's a little nicked up this week, that gives you some encouragement to say, okay, maybe we can do a little bit different this week. And if we have all our guys healthy, you can see different lineups. And that's what I'm really going to look for, not only in the practices, but in the games, what they come out with after the first unit. And so that's going to be really interesting. I think to your point, you always have to have 9 or 10 guys, and you got to got 1 or 2 guys that can move anywhere on the line, or at least interior of the line, and then one guy that can swing from one tackle to the other. That's hard to have, but if you have it, that's what makes your team pretty good.
All right. Anything you're looking for as far as preseason game 2? A familiar team, you're going to see them, obviously, at Droplight with the joint practice situations, but you saw them in Germany. That's last season as well. Now, you bring in Tua, and, Penix was the quarterback then, but how do you size up what you're looking for in this preseason game 2 with the Falcons and the Colts coming up on Saturday?
I want to see the Colts rush against Tua, or I don't think Penix, even if he plays, it won't be a lot, but Tua seems to be getting most of the snaps in the preseason. So I'd like to see them get after Tua, who can get a little antsy. And I also want to see, what this offense looks like in week 2 with Riley Leonard. He's going to probably get the start the way they've been rotating. I don't know for sure, but if he starts, how does he play with the frontline guys? Because he did not play as well last week and had a tough scrimmage against the Patriots. So it's going to be interesting to see that backup quarterback battle again for me. And then I want to see the secondary. There were a couple of guys that didn't play well, and they need a chance to come back. If Jonathan Edwards didn't play his best game, Mekhi Blackman also was being picked on a little bit. I want to see them come back because I've seen them play well at times, but I didn't see it against the Patriots.
Yeah, it's a lot of things, certainly, to size up. And a lot of these things, Charles, we're just simply not going to know. Like the news regarding Daniel Jones all seems to be really positive, but you don't really know until you see other dudes that are trying to do to you what the other dudes are gonna when it's real.
That's right. Hey, I'll tell you 2 guys on the defensive line that Adibare, it just seems like he just gets better and better on the interior. And George Gumbs, I was shocked. Former walk-on, when he started at wide receiver, and then he's now playing the defensive end and looking pretty good. So those are the kind of things you want to look and see. Arden Key, will he get – I don't know how much time he'll get in the game, but how will he play against the Falcons? And then the Falcons, their defense is pretty doggone good, so you have to guard against that. And that's the one thing I want to see how this offensive line handles that rush from the Falcons.
Yeah, there's a lot going to be weird, too, because like any season, it's important to get off to a good start. But certainly with this Colts team, you look at that early season schedule, they weren't done any favors, and you don't want to bury yourself. You don't want to bury yourself before 2 weeks prior to Halloween. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is really crazy, and I think that's the part of the game that you want to see. You can't control what the schedule gives you, but most teams that start 0-2, 0-3 don't generally tend to make it to the playoffs. So you got to get a hot start. You got to start fast, and you're right. The schedule makers didn't do the Colts many favors in the first couple of weeks of the season.
Hey, I do want to ask you a quick college question. Number 6, the defending national champion Indiana Hoosiers. I know it probably still seems a little bit weird for somebody to say, but it is true. 6th ranked to start the season. You agree or disagree? Should they be higher, or are they where they need to be?
Well, I think they should be higher, but when you give Google Me Man over there an opportunity to get spicy with people, I think that helps them, right?
I do too. I absolutely agree. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to tell you now, and he can say anything he wants to us, but I can assure you that team is going to use that to their advantage from the very beginning to throughout the season, and they're going to wear that as a badge of honor with Kirk Cignetti.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. All right, well, we'll track you down, and Saturday preseason game 2, you guys sounded fantastic back on Thursday night in Foxborough, and we'll do it more than occasionally over the course of the season, Charles. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one. Looking forward to it.
Charles Arbuckle, the Colts Radio Network. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So, did I see this right? Jackson Kohler is in the transfer portal?
Yeah, it's part of that fifth-year thing. He's coming back and entering in the portal.
And he played in the summer league for the NBA, and now he's coming back, and he's not going back to Michigan State.
Nope.
So he's in the portal.
Yep.
Some craziness right there. So it's the same thing Sam Alexis did with IU, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you've also seen it with, in a way, the IU football team, Stephen Daly. It's that same type of deal. Now, I guess the only difference here is, like you said, he played in summer league. And, NFL doesn't really have a summer league per se, but that would be kind of the only difference. And so, going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, and I know this all doesn't matter, but you see on that senior day when Kohler looked really emotional and, kissed the floor, whatever they do, which is tradition there, just seems weird. Of all dudes, and I know that getting some more money and getting paid for what you do, that's what matters the most right here. But it's just weird to see that guy. It just seems like he's Mr. Sparty in basketball, playing at BYU or someplace like that.
Oh, when you get a chance to come back, I guess that's what takes priority.
I believe we would all do it. I think I would do the same thing. You just keep on playing until they tell you you no longer can, and you sure as hell keep on playing when they're going to pay you to play, right? Whether it is. We got fantasy football news coming up here in a little bit, too.
Yeah.
Some fantasy news. We will have a league. I gotta find the right package. Don't giggle. The right package to give. But we will have, for those of you out there asking, a fantasy league. We'll discuss that coming up on the other side, too. Get right with a lot of the news of the day as well, whether it's college football or the NFL, or certainly get back at it with the Colts. Later on this week, Thursday, in fact, Drop Light, Grand Park, and Westfield will be there for the Colts, and DeForest Buckner joins me on the show coming up on Thursday as well. Also on the road tomorrow and Friday, I'll explain on the other side, Kansas and Deep Purple tickets also coming up for somebody out there to get their hands on those. But right now we have a weather update. It's Fox 59.
Today's forecast from the Fox 59 Weather Authority.
Staying dry and partly cloudy overnight, temperatures cooling down to near 66 degrees. Highs near 80 on Wednesday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms expected to develop across the region in the afternoon. I'm Fox 59 meteorologist Kendall Wilson for The Fan.
All right, so you want to lose the weight, you want to get back into the shape that you used to be, you want to do things you used to be able to do, but you can't any longer. GLP-1 weight loss injections right here in Indy, specifically North Side, North Meridian, 317-643-4444, and in Fishers, the 317-567-9100. That is Premier Weight Loss. I'm going to be going up there tomorrow. I'm going to see Lauren and Samantha and Thomas. And we're going to find out. It's been about a month since I've been there. And what they do, monthly checkups, they give me, and they will you as well, an entire body scope to find out how you're doing. Everything from visceral fat to body fat percentage to just your weight. And there's no lying about it. It's going to tell the true story about your progress and your goals. That is what makes Premier Weight Loss so incredible, because they keep you in mind. They always have you covered to make sure you stay and maintain goal-oriented. GLP-1 weight loss injections right here in Indy. And by the way, too, if you put together, and have them do it for you, too, if you put together yourself a diet, a new dietary protocol, and you also do the work alongside, you will see incredible results. That's Premier Weight Loss, the 2 Indy area locations. Get started on your very own weight loss journey today. Make sure you tell them I sent you. PWLindy.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Man, what a show. Greg Rakestraw, Rick Venturi, for an hour, by the way, the 4 o'clock hour. And Charles Arbuckle, the podcast, 1075thefan.com. McCartney and Michael Jackson and say. Well done. My daughter would be proud. This reminder, too, because you can still see and folks are still dealing with the long-lasting effects of all the flooding that has taken place, certainly in the last week. And when our neighbors need help, that's exactly what we do. We help. And right now, families in our community are facing those devastating effects of the flooding that I talk about. So they need us and you and really all of us today. And Radio 1 here in Indy, Fox 59 and CBS 4 are joining the American Red Cross for disaster relief for those affected by the flood. Your donation could help supply safe shelter, meals, emergency supplies, and support as families begin to recover. You can give now, 1075thefan.com. This is the help in the heartland, our station, our community standing together. Us with the American Red Cross. So be sure to check that out and check that out today. Well, those effects and dealing with those effects will be taking place really for a long time. And a lot to deal with. No doubt about it. In fact, I saw this a little bit earlier from my friend Litzy. JMV, I've been informed that they will not reopen. They are closing for good now. This is Frisch's Big Boy in Anderson. So I saw this, according to Litzy, Frisch's Big Boy closed until further notice. Due to the flooding, Frisch's Big Boy in Anderson, they announced it was closed until further notice. Now, you went to Cincinnati to see the Cincinnati Open. Are you a big fan of Frisch's Big Boy? Have you been to Frisch's Big Boy before?
I don't think so.
Is there one still open in Greensburg? Are there any still on the way in Indiana left? There was one in Anderson. And maybe they're still on the way down I-74 to Cincinnati, but I think for the most part, you have to go towards Cincinnati to get a Frisch's Big Boy location. Could be wrong.
There, you know what? There used to be one in Ohio.
No, there was one in Greensburg. I think that there were some on the way in the state of Indiana along I-74, but I don't know if they still exist or not.
Yeah. We had a Big Boy in Defiance, Ohio, which was like where you thought I was from for a little bit.
No, yeah.
But I don't think
you're close to Defiance, though, right?
I am, about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they had one, but I don't know if I ever got to go there.
Never been to Frisch's Big Boy. They used to be prominent around Indiana. I mean, hell, there was one in Martinsville for a number of years. Used to be prominent. But no
Big
longer
Boys.
The case.
What was the pizza chain that you were
Noble
talking about?
Romans.
Noble
there
Romans.
Are plenty around here. There are plenty around here.
Okay.
So you can hit those. I think they're known as brew pubs or pizza and brew pubs now. But yeah, Noble Romans. Noble Romans, I believe, started in Bloomington. I want to say back in the late 70s. They had one, and people that attended IU would know this. It was on 3rd and Union Street right there. Had the Noble Romans location, and then they opened one up on the west side. They had one open that was off of College Avenue next to the used-to-be Village Theater right there. That is no longer a part of it. But, yeah, there are plenty of locations. Corey Hall says no more Big Boys on I-74. So evidently you have to go all the way down to Cincinnati to get Frisch's Big Boy.
Well, dang, man. I'll have to do that next time.
I have not had that in a while, so I can't speak to it. 6-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Keenan Allen reportedly signing with the Colts, a one-year deal, as we have talked about over the course of the afternoon. 1 year and $8.32 million, a third-rounder all the way back in 2013. 11 years for Allen with the Chargers. And the Bears for a season. Back to the Chargers, by the way, in 2025. 1,055 career regular season catches. So he joins, obviously, a group of wide receivers. And Alec Pierce, who remains on the physically unable to perform list, coming back from that ankle surgery. Josh Downs, Ashton Dulin, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Anthony Gould, and Laquan Treadwell. That's what it looks like right now. And it was a foregone conclusion that you had to go out and you had to do something about it. And they did. We'll see if he can get officially signed and we can squeeze in a bit of a conversation on Thursday. I know DeForest Buckner is going to join us on the show on Thursday. But we shall see, as we'll be up at Droplight Grand Park coming up on Thursday. We have a fantasy football league we need to make everybody aware of. Again, we're not officially unleashing it, but we are doing it again, correct?
Yes, we are. I just created the league in ESPN, so
that is well done.
We're going to get that up and running. I know the morning show kind of started theirs today, started giving away spots. We'll eventually get there.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm on it. I don't want to make it.
We got time, dude. We got time. It's like a month till the season starts. We got time.
I think only nerds start right now, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't you have to figure some things out?
Only nerds.
Only nerds.
And one thing about this show, there ain't nerds around here.
And it's so funny, too. People say, so where do you get off saying, because I know who I am. I know that I'm not that, but I also am well aware that I am one of, and this is true, one of the dumbest people around. I do realize that.
Mm-hmm.
So always know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If you take anything away. Susan says the hot fudge cake was to die for. Was that Frisch's, big boy? Frisch's. I used to be all over the place. It's sad about the location in Anderson, too. Andy says you're correct on the Noble Romans. There was one also in Martinsville. There was one in Martinsville. That is a true story. Jim McCann in Southern California. What was I don't know what I would order from Frisch's Big Boy now. I'd probably have to order a hamburger and then take it up, be one of those weirdos that takes it out of the bun altogether. You know, it's just really weird. That'd be me. I see, the last time I had a Frisch's Big Boy goes way back. I was at a Reds game, and they were there in the as a part of some of the food you could eat. They had that and the La Rosa's pizza, I think. And really anymore, that's the only reason you go over there is to kind of hang out or go watch tennis because nobody wants to go watch the Reds anymore. Nobody.
Well, I was going to ask this too. Like, is this a rush? Because we've talked about this in the couple weeks I've been here, how the fast food restaurants are now like, hey, we're trying to give you the food as fast as possible
and to get the hell out of here.
Push you out the door.
Oh, yeah.
Is Big Boy?
I don't know. I've not been to one.
I would
of
be
their,
curious to know if they're still about the right stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
The last time I went, it was just inside Great American Ballpark. I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody out there, I would love to.
Love to know. We want you to make your order, and we don't want any contact whatsoever. Grab your bag and get the hell out of here.
That is what
That's
it's
become. All about right there.
Yeah.
You wonder. People right now are saying, "Well, it's never going to change, or it's going to get worse." I bet you it will. There's a reason why we're all keeping our clothes, because everything's going to come back in style one of these days,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the reason why I hang on to my 1984 parachute pants. Because I'm going to wear those bad boys one of these. Now I can wear them. So one of these days, the retro thing always has a kick. I don't know if the retro will be as impactful when it's the retro of the 2000s. Like with the 70s and 80s and the 90s. I'll give you a great example.
Where's the line?
They've got the Crush soft drinks. I don't know if you've seen those. I don't drink any of that either, but they have the 12-packs that are like 90s.
Yeah.
90s versions of Crush. I don't know what flavor it is, but it says 90s. So the 90s is something we're living in retro now. When are we going to be in the 2000s? That may not be as impactful for a lot of us as the 90s or the 80s or the 70s.
Can I relate it to sports real
I think
quick?
you should.
The Pacers they're bringing back their pinstripe uniforms.
Yeah.
That's
Why wouldn't
2000s,
you? Yeah.
right? So, I mean,
yeah,
we're kind of inching there, right? Late 90s, early 2000s,
So the
I would say.
the pinstripes with the Jermaine O'Neals, right?
Yeah. So
I would guess. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we've already arrived and we didn't even know it.
No,
I don't know.
Listen, we are going to be there because when you think about it, this is 2026. You got to go back 26 years now to the start of the 2000s. That's incredible.
It
to
is
me.
crazy. It is.
Bill writes this, JMV, they have a great big boy in Harrison, Ohio, just across the Ohio line on I-74. That's how you went, right, to the Cincinnati Open on Sunday.
I-74?
Yeah.
And full of construction, by the way. Oh, my gosh. A lot of one-lane, split lane.
Kind of like what it is around here.
Yep. So that's just
reminiscent
great.
of that for sure. All right, show coming up tomorrow. We're going to be live at the State Fair. I'll explain that coming up on the other side, the reason why we're going to be there. And, in fact, Jake's going to be there with Query and Company from 10 until 1. I'll explain that. State Fair, grandstand coming up tomorrow. Thursday, Colts camp in Westfield. Friday, I cannot wait for this. Friday, it's me and Brent Halverson and Tony Renz. And our friend, it is going to be a fantastic time for the Tavern Tour. We're at Taylor's Bar and Table, Ingalls, Indiana. And I've been there before. It is outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. That is on a Friday. And we've got not only all three of those days, and we got the Colts pregame show that's going to be live in Touchdown Town. That starts on Saturday morning, or as we close in on the midday. And then obviously that kick is at 1 o'clock with the Falcons and the Colts, the preseason game too. And then JMV Takeover coming up after that. We are inching toward the days in which, after Labor Day weekend, I start going 7 days a week until Thanksgiving. And that is until B105.7 starts playing Christmas music, and then we'll sidestep that for about a month. So we are getting into the thick of a lot going on, which is a good thing. We mentioned high school football starts officially coming up on Friday. Greg Rakestraw chatted about that a little bit earlier. You guys always ask for this. Rick Venturi for the hour, 4 o'clock hour. If you missed any of it, we had a break of nearly everything going on with the Colts right now with Rick. That podcast, 1075thefan.com. Charles Arbuckle from the Colts Radio Network, also a little bit earlier, 1075thefan.com is the podcast there. Kansas, Deep Purple tickets. That is a week from yesterday, Everwise Amphitheater. Your chance to win those tickets coming up on the other side. Sit tight. We'll close this out with some Anything Goes, I believe, after 6 o'clock as well. Fever on the road in Toronto tonight. 19-3 in a sold-out Scotiabank Arena in Toronto later on tonight for the Fever. That's an ESPN game, but Tidrow and John Nolan and Bria Goss have you coming up later on tonight right here. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Connecticut Water Systems. Joe is his name. Joe is incredible. And all the knowledge you need with your home water situation. But that starts with getting it checked. Getting it checked to find out what they can do if you don't have Connecticut water. it is not the best water out there, too. They will put together a water treatment Connecticut system that is best suited for you because not everybody's water situation is the same. They will find out what you need, put together a system for you, but that starts with an in-home water test today. Tell Joe that I sent you and get signed up right now, Connecticut.com. I know this. You got a big-time country show going back to back to back to back. And that's at the Field House coming up later on this week. I know where you can stake out. Make sure you're not too far away. That's a block away. Hang out and have a great time in prep or in post-show, the District Tap. Just a block from the Field House. Damn good food, happy hour specials, TVs everywhere. You can multitask there better than any place else around. The District Tap downtown, also noted at Clearwater Crossing on the north side. The District Tap locations, damn good food, happy hour specials too. Live music on the weekends, event space, catering as well. To find out more, thedistricttap.com.
The Ride with JMV.
It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. It stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Be able to get some reps with the ones against the superstars on their defense. We got so much work, whether it was move the ball, first down, third down, red zone, 2-minute. There's so many situations, and I believe overall it was a positive day. There were plays that I loved and plays that I wish I had back. In reality, that's a lie. I wish I didn't have them back because it's a growing experience and it's practice, and this is what I love. And it's just a beautiful day to play football here, and I'm so happy of so many things to learn from today.
Never, ever change. Fernando Mendoza. Clint Kubiak gave him a lot of reps today in preparation. They're having their joint workouts, the Raiders are, with the Texans in front of their matchup coming up on Thursday. Never, ever change Fernando Mendoza. We can all agree, no matter what fandom you might have, can we all agree that he should never change? Never become cynical, because we live with so many jackasses that want to transform you into something. Give you a great example. There's, I think it's called Polling Market. I don't even know what this is. Raiders quarterback Fernando Mendoza is being criticized for being, quote, too performative during interviews. Never change. Just be you. You know how refreshing it is that he is just himself right here? That is never going to get old unless you are a complete and utter jackass. And I know some people are. Never, ever change. That is perfect. That hopefully will always be the personality of Fernando Mendoza. I'd never want that to change,
Dude,
Caleb, ever.
He's been that way last year, 2 years ago. He's that way now.
Why do people want to change him?
I don't know. That's who he
performative.
is.
Let him have a person. Don't change that personality. You change everybody else. Never, ever change. I hope that's the case. I love that.
I think it will be.
I love that. And I hope I hope that personality never changes and he thrives. Fever and the tempo coming up later on tonight. We got a little extra time because of that. We'll get into that. Anything goes coming up on the Never Change. Never, ever change Fernando Mendoza. Little anything goes on the other side. Road shows tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. We shall explain, and Caleb and I are back coming up a little bit after 6. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
When I lost all that weight, I think I lost a lot of ass.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right. What are you guys up to right now? You know, I forgot to do something, too. I forgot to give away Kansas Deep Purple tickets. You guys still on board with that right here? No. The Anything Goes is 239-1070 for you to call in, and we talk about whatever the hell you want in the final minutes of the show. But text line 317-239-1070 next Monday, Everwise Amphitheater. It is Deep Purple in Kansas. Number 9 on the text line. Text line only 317-239-1070. Because host forgot to do it before 6 o'clock. 317-239-1070 on the text line. If you want to go, number 9, according to Caleb, is going to go. So go to it, Caleb. Get us a winner. And if you want to call for Anything Goes, you can. That'd be great. Indiana Standardbred Association has us live at the State Fair tomorrow. I know Jake is going to be out there for the same thing. The Governor's Cup. It'd be a lot different if it were the sports talk show host cup. Because you know this. You know me. I've never, ever, 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 and this is Anything Goes, so I feel comfortable in telling you this, never have I stepped on a baseball diamond or a softball diamond of any kind without wearing a protective cup. Never. Did you play baseball?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever play softball, old man softball? I'm not playing old man softball without a cup. Never. Like, if I were ever invited, and I'm probably not going to be, I guess, or I'd have heard by now, to the Halliburton thing coming up on Monday, I'd wear a cup in that.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere without one. Can you imagine being a part? Can you imagine being asked to be a part of the Halliburton's softball deal and then taking one in the junk and having to lay there on the ground after taking one in the junk? Can you imagine how viral that would go?
Honestly,
talk show host gets bad hop, and then I apologize for saying that about Victory Field, gets bad hop in junk.
If that happened, though, John, honestly, if that happened this week, I'd be like, yeah, it's pretty on par for the week you're having right now.
That'd be great.
Where you're sick,
that
you're falling down at oops, you're getting elbowed in the nose, and then you get hit in the nether regions.
I've never stepped foot on it. Now, I was a catcher, so there's zero way. But never without a cup. Now, when I was little and catching in Little League, my cup sometimes, because there was nothing really to hold it in, would be like sliding down my leg and stuff.
Hey.
Well, hold on a second. I got to readjust because my cup is down by my right kneecap. Let me go get it. My protective cup.
Yeah, man.
Things were different.
I wore one.
Hey, I'll say this. The day that they invented the jockstrap with the kangaroo pouch in the front was one of the greatest inventions of all time.
Wait. So you're telling me that before that
there was nothing. I had underwear and a jockstrap over the top of it. Seriously.
Is that right?
That's how you had to. Well,
that's how you did it.
Otherwise, it'd be cup, jock, cup, and then your stuff. And I didn't want my cup touching my stuff because it was uncomfortable. So I had to go underwear, cup, jockstrap before the invention of the pocket or the pouch or the kangaroo pouch.
I thought that was just always a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's how it had to be done.
Unless I just didn't go to the right spot. I went to Southern Sporting Goods and University Sporting Goods in Bloomington to get my protective gear.
And I was going to say that might just be how they do it in Greene County.
Yeah. This is a true story. It wasn't that easy back in the day, Caleb. Let me tell you, regarding protective cups. Yeah. Is that donk or gonk you have? It's donk right there, isn't it?
Probably.
Donk, are you on Anything Goes right here, pal? What's up?
I sure am, John. I was going to weigh in on the Pacers, but I think it's important we discuss our new producer. Okay, first off, we had Tony Donahue questionable decisions. Then we had Kyle Niedemark, which was kind of snobby, stuck up. Now I think it's great that we have Peter Brady Jr. My man, put some bass in your voice. Let's go.
You got to have some bass in your voice, Palomino. That's what the donk has spoken on this.
Man, I can't. We just came off a segment where we talked about not changing who you are, right? Is this not what we just talked about with Fernando Mendoza? I can't change it.
Go ahead, donk.
Well, time to change. There's time to rearrange. Learn that song, dude. You know what I'm saying? We'll watch the Brady Bunch. You're going to love that.
All right.
Hey, man, good luck, man. Good luck.
Appreciate you.
That's a donk right there. He called Kyle Niedemark snobbish.
Oh, man. That was awesome.
The questionable decisions of Tony. Kyle Niedemark was snobbish. I talked to Kyle last week. He actually called me. Yeah, I hadn't talked to Kyle in a minute.
Still playing some of his rejoiners out here.
He was a great guy. He was not snobbish. I might understand where some people would think he was a bit snobbish, though. I'm sure Donk would probably call and he would say he didn't have time, and Donk probably thought he was snobbish because of that. That's pretty awesome right there.
That was great.
I love anything goes with Donk. Shout out to you, Donk. Hey, we got podcasts. If you missed any of it, you got to check it out. Greg Rakestraw, Charles Arbuckle, and an hour with Rick Venturi, Colts fans. 1075thefan.com. Fever bottom of the hour. Tidrow's got you. I got you tomorrow at the State Fair Grandstand, 3 o'clock. 93.5, 1075 The Fan. Have a great night.